And yeah, oh yes, we are. We're live. We are live.
Oh, hi.
We're present. We're not correct, but when are we ever? Hello.
Yes.
What's up?
Yeah, doesn't that feel good to be back?
Yes.
Not covering that thing. This is awesome. I spent, for those of you who don't know, I spent 8 weeks in hell. So I've been looking forward to this, to not discuss that thing I will never mention by name again. Hello, Dan. Back to Dan after my interruption.
This is going to be fun. I've got to be honest, guys. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yep. Me too.
So we've got Ian back as well. He's wetting his whistle. I think he's going to have quite a lot to say.
It's really hot down here. It's incredibly hot. This weather's just ridiculous. It's so hot today. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's yours. Carry on. Well, it's warm in here. It's warm in here as well. We're going to catch up on how everybody's been because it's been several months since you've been on, Ian. So I do hope you're well. Hope you're in good voice.
Yeah, I'm all right. Looking forward to talking about Jaws, one of my favorite movies. I'm sure it's everybody else's favorite movie. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on, right? So there you go. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, can't wait.
Well, we saw the rest of us sort of turn up whatever, really. Just rattle on for however long. That's pretty much how this goes. If you've never caught this show before, that's the lay of the land. We all turn up, we rattle on. Some of us get either gently more tired or drunk as the evening continues, depending on what time of day it is for us, especially the rabbi, who's normally completely bollocksed by the time we start. 'Cause it's far, far later for him. He's just gone to grab a bite to eat. We've got it all laid out. And a particular film to get into as well. We've got people in the live chat already. I can't wait to get started to reconnect with you guys because we have spoken, but we haven't spoken. A certain someone in a big blue box has tended to get in the way over the last couple of months. They're gone. Now we're back to the good stuff, and we can cut loose a little bit. And this time with a dedicated live stream. Thank you, everybody. We've got some comments already, isn't it great? So. How's the rabbi getting on? Yeah, I think he's still in one piece at any rate. Yes, so he'll be back in a moment or two. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. Now, we are live streaming this, not just to the Spacebook channel, but also over to the Type 40 channel as well, for the people who might be missing us after the last couple of months. So if you want to see what else we get up to, this is it, I'm afraid. So please like the video. Do it now. You'll be having too much fun later on. Like the video. Subscribe to the Spacebook channel. And hit the ignition, I suppose, to stay on target, to stay locked on target with whatever is coming next from us. Okay, it's time to get into it and see if the rabbi comes through in time. I think he probably will. So this is how we generally start, by going here and then by doing a bit of this.
Get a taste of the Mediterranean with new Walker's Greek kebab, feta cheese, and tomato and basil flavors. The new Mediterranean range from Walker's, irresistible.
Yeah, I think I'll take my chances with Bruce, to be honest, rather than Gary Lineker. Yeah, just when you thought it was safe and all that jazz. It's the Spacebook Live. We're back. The temperature is rising, and we're all getting back into our stride here to focus on other things in all of Out There Entertainment here on the panel, and everybody in the live chat there on YouTube and Rumble. So yeah, we're streaming it to as many places as we can possibly get away with there right now to these platforms. That's Rumble and YouTube. Get subscribed, get following. We have a rabbi as well. He's well stocked and he's still in one piece, which is a start. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Yeah, so it's all coming together. Everybody, it's good to have you all back on deck. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say about the topic in hand, the thrust of the conversation. But first of all, Ian, I want to welcome you back. It's been months since we've had you on the show.
Yep, I've been avoiding the man in the blue box or the gay man in the blue box for a very long time. So,
Michael
so now we're not talking about that. Yeah.
Don't know who you're
Now we're
talking
about.
about.
I'm back.
Obviously, you've been filming Rebecca Gold 2 as well.
I have indeed. Almost finished. One more day. That's it. Done. And then
Wow.
it's post-production. Yeah. So hopefully September will be it'll get released in September. Not sure what I'm going to do with it because now it's a feature film. It's not a
not a web series.
web series.
No,
we're
keep
going
it
to just
a film. Keep it a movie.
Well,
we're just
100%
we're just putting it out as a movie. So yeah. So there you go.
Is there a
So,
shark in it?
no.
Oh, okay.
One more day.
There is a
Got one
pretty
more day.
girl in it though. There's a pretty girl in it. One more day. Yeah. And then that'll be
Nearly
that.
finished. Nearly complete.
Let
Well,
me ask you, are you somebody who would like use the AI tools to make movies, like the?
I have.
Oh,
I have
are you,
used-
like when like Google VO3 becomes like you can do full length. Which I
Yeah,
think
you
being-
can, but that's not what that's not really filmmaking as far as I'm concerned. But I have
Right,
used,
that's my question for you.
yeah. Well, have you ever seen the film Havoc? It's on Netflix at the moment.
Yeah,
with,
they use a lot of the sets
Tom
of
Hardy.
AI, weren't they?
yeah.
No, the car chase in the beginning is AI, all of it. None of that happened. It's
Wow.
all done in a computer. The
Oh,
whole
really?
chase. I thought it looked real. It looked real. I thought it was real.
I don't look up. No,
It
no,
is
but okay,
all-
there's a
all
new
CGI,
advance that
yeah.
came out about 3 weeks ago.
I know.
Called
Yep.
VO3. Yeah, so that.
I
So
know.
I,
Yep.
I think we're all going to be able to make our own Doctor Who or whatever. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that on the show. But we should all be able to make our own content.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're
but-
done. Kick him off,
but-
and kick him off.
Rabbi, you know there's a Paramount. I think it's Paramount and some
Yeah,
other
Paramount
huge
and Disney are
companies.
suing Midjourney.
Yeah, suing. Yep. So we might not
You
be able to do
can't-
that
you can't
if they
stop
win.
The signal, baby. Once it's out, it's out. Once the tech is out, you're never going to stop it.
Because
And
you know, guys, they have
Yeah.
that the stormtroopers. You know, you ever seen that the stormtroopers a vlog that somebody's done in AI? It's really funny. And that's what they're trying to stop. They're trying to stop you, 20th Century Fox and Disney, trying to stop you from using their property because they're making a
Okay.
crap load of money out of those.
So what they
those,
need to do is this:
AI
the
things.
exact thing when cinema came out, when TV came out, cinema, the movie producers were very nervous, right? They tried to dissuade people buying TVs until they worked out they could make content for TVs. What they need to do, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, they need to make their own AI platform where you can make content in their universe. You pay them for it, and then you host it for them on their streaming service. Right? They get content made for free, and they charge you to make it, and people will pay it.
You know what? They
somehow
used to do
don't think they'll
something
do
similar
that.
to that.
I won't do that because it's stupid. But
they've done
that's
it
the
for-
future.
well,
That
they've-
is the model of how
done
to live in a post AI
They've
world.
done it for kids. They've had story maker websites and things like that. You know, my son worked on Havoc, the Disney film, the Netflix film Havoc.
Netflix.
Was it Netflix? What did I say?
I think it was Netflix.
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 I thought I said Netflix. What did I say?
You said
You did,
Disney.
you said
Netflix.
Netflix.
Did I? Okay, my son worked on Havoc. Yeah, but I didn't know.
Good.
I know because most of it was filmed in Wales, doubling up for
Yeah, I know.
wherever it was going to be. I knew about that, but I didn't know about the abundance of AI. But I can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, if you watch the beginning of the film, it's the whole car chase in the beginning of the film is AI. It's not, none of it's real. So
That's
Apart
the
from
only bit I've seen. The car chase
Oh,
at the
right.
beginning. I kind of got bored with it afterwards.
That's impressive. Okay, so just in case this is your first time with us talking about anything, listening to us ramble on about anything, this is my mate Gary Akers wearing another splendid cap. That's very
Well,
much.
I thought it was appropriate. It's a captain's hat, and so that kind of ties in a little bit with what we're talking about today.
I like it, tenuous, but on brand at the same
It's
time.
tenuous.
I like it.
Yeah, I know. It's tenuous.
We have the rabbi from another planet replenished
Hello!
and in one piece, as I'm sure you can tell. Ian David Diaz back on the squad, and last but by no means least, the mighty Bowles Trek. We've missed you so much, Chris. We've missed hearing about Frank as well, and about Professor Dinkles. How's the case going? I suppose is what we want to know.
Well, right now, it's suspected that Frank may have been eaten by Jaws, because, as you know, Jaws has shown up. He's in disguise. He's wearing his hat and his tie. And he wanted to hang out with us. He also wants to make sure that we don't slander or libel him because he's very, very grumpy. I watched I watched Jaws, the first two with Sky the Black Lab, and she does not approve of Jaws. She thinks he's a big, stupid meanhead, and he does not get a cookie, and he does not get a belly rub. But as for Frank, we don't know. He may have been eaten by Jaws. He may be back. Very, very bad things have happened to him in prison while we were away the past 2 months. He did make an appearance on the channel, so that got him some media attention. So, yeah.
Raise the profile of his plight, sort of thing.
Yeah, but don't make Jaws mad because you could tell he's watching everything you do.
I think the best fate for Frank was being eaten by Jaws.
Rabbi, we don't know that for a fact. We don't know that he's been eaten by Jaws. It's just allegedly he may have been eaten by Jaws. They're not sure where he is. Maybe he escaped. Either that or they're holding him in the dark recesses of the prison because security is a little lax there. So we don't want to think about what might be happening to Frank. So he's either inside of Jaws or he's in the basement of the prison. We'll find out in a few weeks. And I was so disappointed by that the first time I saw it as a kid. I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be awesome. No, it's shadows. God damn it.
It's just like the titles to a James Bond movie, this sequence, isn't it? Yeah, we're talking about a big blockbuster movie on this edition of the show. One I've never seen on the big screen. Well, not the big screen anyway, although I understand that, obviously they're bringing out all sorts of old movies now for these sort of boutique cinemas, aren't they? It's like for one night, for two nights, for 3 nights. I think Sarah Graham went to see a sort of an open air showing of Jaws, and she goes to them quite regularly. So I like that those are a thing, but maybe I should pull my finger out and get to see some of these classics as they were originally intended, Ian, or even out in the wilds. They do the safari park and all sorts of places, don't they?
I went to see it in the last time I saw it in the cinema was the 40th anniversary. I went to see that with Keith. Loved it just as much as watching it on the small screen,
I want to see this in the theater. Hey, get this. The first time I saw Jaws was on CED, RCA Capacitance Electronic Disc. It was like the vinyl. I've discussed it on here before, but it was like the vinyl of movies. Terrible quality. Me and my brother snuck out one night while everybody was asleep, and they had Jaws. So we watched it covertly in terrible quality skipping. So, yeah, I want to see this in the theater, though.
Am I the only one that's actually seeing it? I think it was a re-release when I was a kid. It got re-released. So
it got re-released in '79, didn't it? I mean, we're not into the main topic of conversation.
No, it was released in the '90s, wasn't it? That's what I remember seeing.
It has been re-released. It has been re-released several times. I mean, you could say that Jaws is one of those standard cinematic cautionary tales. Who would? I think you think twice about going and doing any sort of night swimming after you'd seen that. And we do like cautionary tales here on the Spacebook as a sort of icebreaker, really. We have been priming everybody on YouTube and Rumble with these slices of common sense, really, from far reaches of the globe. Things not to do, basically, Chris. And this is very much your idea and your bit and piece, isn't it? We've got a cracking one to start off this brand new season as well, I'm pleased to say. So I've missed this slot. And this is all from your sort of files, isn't it? So how do you want to build up the anticipation for this one?
Hello, everyone. So, yes, welcome to another season of Canadian Public Service Announcements. This is another one about road safety and what you shouldn't do. And as a preview for what's coming up this season, amongst the many things I'm going to be debuting will be another series from Alberta. So remember last year, Alberta was featured with all those ladies being punched.
Yes.
They've got safety awareness videos, and the campaign was called "Some Days Are Bloodier Than Others."
Right.
So you'll have to use your imagination, but I've got several of those lined up. You're all gonna be traumatized. Like literally, some stuff I have is going to have everybody in tears. Well, except me, I don't have emotions because I'm a jerk. But for today, we're going to do the road safety. So so Dan, roll it. Show us what we're not supposed to do.
So this comes obviously from your fair homeland of Canada, where it's full of sensible people, I suppose, who would never do anything.
Yeah.
Never do anything reckless if it wasn't for these videos.
Oh
Un
my.
accident, ça frappe beaucoup de monde.
Monsieur Simard, êtes-vous le père de Sarah?
Oui.
On peut rentrer, on aimerait
I also forgot to say that is from Les Belles Provinces du Québec, et c'est en le français parce que Canada est un pays bilingue, et là, je vais incluser le français. So I forgot to mention the Quebec loves their road safety ads. I've got some bangers this season too. But yeah, so this is a cautionary tale. And once again, folks, they play these at all hours of the day. So you could be watching your happy Thundercats or whatever, and then this shows up. Yay, my country is a disaster.
The lesson I took from this is never ride with a woman driver.
And with that, Gary is canceled.
Always great advice, Gary. I mean, to me, this does seem a little bit like a trailer or a minisode for a Final Destination movie that we never got, Ian.
That's a good point.
They kind of are, and there's a number of these. So take care with fireworks. Don't drive stupid, and apparently nobody's safe in Alberta, but we'll cover that soon.
Nobody have fun ever.
Where nightmares become true.
No one have fun ever.
Well, this is Canada. We're not allowed to have fun. Just look us up in the news.
You're the only country that went from the worst prime minister ever to the worst one.
We know about how to have fun in Britain.
Without sidetracking too much, we went from the puppet to the puppet master. We're now in hell.
In hell, with so much to talk about. We're going to need a bigger boat, I think, or a bigger saloon car. This is how we do it in Britain. This is how we do sensible motoring in Britain, always with a tartan blanket, a flask, and whatever we can cram in to a hamper is how it goes. That's the general rule of thumb. This is how we do it at the Spacebook Live. Deep dives into classic movies and TV shows. Expansive conversations about topics of the day mixed in with all kinds of geeky nonsense. We check out the pop culture landscape for all out there entertainment, whether it's in movies, TV, comic books, or anything associated. If you can geek out about it, then we bring it onto the show and we kick it around for a bit and until we get fed up of it, basically. That's how it tends to roll. And this time we're going back in time for a seismic confrontation that some would say changed the face of the faces of cinema, I suppose. Something that everybody's bound to have different particular opinions about. We want your comments there in the live chat as well. You know, Freddie Mercury, he wasn't a fan. But then again, he didn't like Star Wars either, Ian. So quite frankly, I don't really know what he was talking about. I'm not going to take any film reviews from Freddie Mercury particularly seriously. You know, when I was a kid, I used to get very, very confused. I used to get this mixed up with him. Which one was which? Because to me, this was Jaws. But I'm sure that I've worked it out by now. At least I think I have. So let's
for the record, this might be sacrilege, but I can't stand Queen. I may be the only person. I don't get the appeal.
You can see what people think. You can see what people think you're evil now, can't we?
Oh yeah, I know.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Shark! The shark is here. The ferociously good ice pop from Good Humor. The Good Humor Shark has the great taste of natural grape in a shocking shark shape. Delicious. The Good Humor Shark is waiting for you in your supermarket freezer.
Yeah, there are some films that I sincerely regret not ever seeing on the big screen. Yes, cinema has changed 3-4 times over since this was released, and now we are getting these sort of special screenings of classic movies. So you could say that I should stop moaning about it and just get out there and do it at the next opportunity, shouldn't you? But yeah, I do think that when it comes to some movies, you do need to see them as they were originally intended to take it all in, particularly when they are a key work by an industry figure of the magnitude of Steven Spielberg. Any film by this director, even now, 52 years on, gets people's attention. You want to know what he's doing, even in his late 70s. So this early work is of significance in that respect, but obviously it's of huge importance to the history of popular culture as well as cinema. Yeah, Steven Spielberg made this film when he was just 27 years old, employing groundbreaking special effects, blind faith, I suppose recklessness as well, a youthful recklessness, and it paid off. It paid off, having a lasting influence not just on the medium itself, but on the public. I think on public's expectations of what big summer movies could do, creating the notion of a blockbuster. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to ask you guys about that. And it even managed to mold the public's perception of sharks themselves, for better or for worse. But yeah, this month, as of time of recording, sees Jaws reach its 50th anniversary with a brand new 4K Steelbook release that's coming out on the 17th of June. So everything is all about Jaws all over again after 5 decades. So Ian, you were surprised that I hadn't ever seen this on the big screen. You're trying to work out when it was that you first saw it. It has been released and re-released multiple times. You know, when they sort of trot things out, when there is a new innovation in sort of sound or picture, or simply for some occasion, like the 20 years, the 30 years, the 40 years, it does happen. But until recently, this current sort of trend for re-releasing old films, you know, it was never a certain thing that you were gonna get that. For me, Jaws is a film that had life on television. And when I was a kid, it was already part of the pop culture landscape. And it was the kind of movie that older kids used to talk about with bated breath and taunt me about because I hadn't seen it yet because I was too little, you
know? I saw it. The first time I saw it was when it was re-released. It was an A, because over here we had X, AA, A, and U. Am I correct in that, Dan? Probably.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It
wasn't there a double A?
Yeah, I was going to say
double A.
A.
Yeah. So it was X, AA, A, and U, and
Right.
this film was given an A, which is interesting because it really deserved
it was
a double A.
Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, in the UK it was an A.
This is the UK Post. You're quite right. It was an A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
they didn't edit it.
How much must they edited that?
No, they didn't. They didn't.
No, they had the leg forward and
yes, they did. They did.
The water, that's one of the grossest bits.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I saw it when it's re-released. I never saw it in the proper big cinema. I saw it in a small, tiny little cinema, and I can't even imagine what the film was like, because when they release films in the UK, they released a really good print to the West End cinemas, and then all the small cinemas used to get the crappy prints with the scratches on it and the broken film and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's why they could afford it, because it was cheaper to get the reprint of the reprint of the reprint film. So that's why they look so awful. And that's the way I saw Jaws. I can't even imagine how I saw it now, because my memories are of the Blu-ray
Dude, you live
version
in London.
and the DVD
Wait,
version.
when did you go up to Leicester Square?
No, in those days, it was quite expensive. We were poor, man. We were poor.
I know. I remember, about 5 years later, by the time Star Trek 3 or 4 came out, no, definitely 3. I saw that in Leicester Square, and it was the same price as seeing it in my local Odeon.
No,
Right,
what
so-
for us it wasn't. So in our local, it was 50p to go and see it. You could sit in there all day, right? So I'm saying, so I saw Jaws that way, and I was terrified when I watched it. I thought it was a terrifying film. I think it was with my brother at the time. I was so scared that I had my legs up on the chair. I wouldn't want to.
Because it was so good. It was so good at scaring you. Yeah, it was excellent.
It was, yeah.
This is the opposite to a current day blockbuster in that it had a low budget. It didn't have groundbreaking special effects. It had absolutely awful special effects that Steven Spielberg was brilliant in covering up. Right, it's all in the edit and it's all in the shoot. And the shark didn't work. Right, and it was again a low budget. Was it a low budget movie essentially? And it became a huge storm. The only thing that was a blockbuster about it was its take. But now they do the opposite. They spend millions of like hundreds of millions on a movie, and it's a flop. Right? So they go back.
As I've said over and over again, as probably a horror fan first and foremost, the best horror movies are those where you don't really see what's going on. I always use the example of Amityville Horror, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But I think it also works very effectively in Jaws. Of course, the times you do see Jaws, he looks even more ridiculous than my little cartoon. But back then you wouldn't look at it, and I think for audiences at the time, this kind of was sort of this. I guess you could call this maybe a modern creature feature, but things like this or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is the year before, were the types of movies that the general public hadn't seen before. It probably wouldn't have the same impact if it were released now, and God help us if they do a remake. That will be a nightmare.
Jaws wasn't a low budget film. It had a decent budget.
$9 million
for the time, and it went 100 days over. 100 days over its schedule. Over.
Well, look, how did it compare to Star Wars in terms of budget?
Well, it's a different time zone, isn't it? So inflation and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
When I describe a film like this, Ian, as groundbreaking with the special effects, I don't necessarily mean that they were pioneering these amazing, dazzling techniques and that any of it worked. It was that kind of, well, let's try it anyway. What could possibly go wrong? Or let's try it until it breaks. I don't know do you think they were reckless because it was other people's money? I mean, $9 million doesn't sound like a lot, particularly now, 50 years on, but it probably
they hired the guy who did 2000 Leagues Under the Sea to create the shark. But what they didn't, it worked in a swimming pool, but what they didn't count on was the salt in the water. And that's why the shark wasn't working too well. That's what I've read. Because I read a lot of stuff about Jaws. Yeah,
but even now, like $9 million, that's still higher than your average Blumhouse budget.
Yeah.
But when you look at how much money this movie actually made, like $476 million on a $9 million budget, that is absolutely insane.
Because it's understandable that all our attention.
The reason why it's very, very good, like the scenes in there, like we're gonna need a bigger boat. That the thing about Frank being eaten by Jaws, that scene where they're going through the belly of that other shark to see what it's eating. That's brilliant, right? Isn't that just you're just mesmerized by it?
It's understandable that all our attention focuses on the shark. The poster sort of makes it pretty clear, isn't it? And how they achieved that. But there were other things, other visual achievements as well to create that atmosphere, I suppose. And that sense of, even though it was a big place and it was a lot of it's very bright in until the latter stages, it doesn't actually get dark. It's a very bright and beautiful place. And yet it creates that unnerving atmosphere. I can't believe there's too many people out there that haven't seen Jaws, but just in case you haven't, this is the synopsis. So in the seaside town of Amity, a series of shark attacks plague the community during the summer tourist season. Police Chief Martin Brody battles the town's mayor, who prioritizes the economy over public safety, whilst enlisting the help of a marine biologist and a professional shark hunter to track and kill the great white shark terrorizing their beaches. It's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things that the reason why they were in so much trouble was because of Jewel. Would you believe the film Jewel? So when Spielberg was directing Jewel, they told him, he was really young, they said to him, don't shoot out there. Go to a studio yacht, do some back projection shots and stuff. That would be easier for you. Spielberg was like, no, because we did process shots. People will know it's a process shot. So he took the same stance with Jaws. They were saying to him, use the tank in Universal, use that. And I'm going, no, I want to go to the sea. And that really screwed the whole production because they were really out there in the sea. So
they should
that's
use
one of
the
the reasons
tank.
why it took so long.
And
well, maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
And if you've seen Duel, that's obviously Jaws was not written by Spielberg. It was based on a novel. But you kind of see, and Spielberg really did begin as a horror director. I guess Sugarland Express was in between the two of them. Duel, for those of you who don't know, was a made-for-TV movie, which he decided he was going to shoot as a film. The final cut is about an hour and a half. The TV version is just a little over an hour. But there's similar themes, and you can see the way he was shooting in Duel, kind of honing what he did with Jaws. I guess it was a little bit easier with Duel because he's shooting and on land. But even similar themes, when you look at the truck in Duel, you never see the driver, and it's. No. And I think somebody in there, P.D. Rich said he doesn't like Duel. No, Duel's an absolute masterpiece.
Duel's great.
It is brilliant. I'd say that might be my favorite Spielberg movie, maybe after this one. But
Ian and I reviewed it on this show a couple of years ago with Terry Cooper, and I was brought to mind Duel several times watching Jaws again for this conversation, particularly at the end where, spoilers, where the shark dies. It sort of makes that very primal. You see it sort of tumbling into the ocean with the kind of, is it the same sound? And there's all that kind of red smoke of the blood fills the water. And it reminds me of when the truck goes down because they play that. Yeah, they do play I didn't know it was the same sound, but it makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur sound from a Harryhausen film or something like that. That's what they use. And they use that same sound in Jaws when it got blown up. Yeah, same sound. Yeah.
Dan, are you able to put that picture back up? The Jaws about to eat that lady, because that is one of the most iconic images I think in film history, and probably one of the most. I'd say effective at grabbing your attention. This is what intrigued me and why my brother and I, watched the CD behind our parents' backs in the middle of the night. But CD, if you don't know, they were basically the size of records, and the picture on the front of it. So there was a fairly sizable disc, like basically a record, a laser disc. And this is what first attracted me to Jaws when I was a kid. My parents had been watching it. And this one was, from what I remember, I think on 2 discs. And they had actually just left the cartridge out in front of the player. So me and my brother are just looking at this picture of this terrifying image of this shark about to eat that lady, which doesn't, there's nothing in the movie that's really as terrifying as that shot. But as a kid, I saw that in my nightmares. And then you have to ask, why would my parents leave that out so we could see it? You think you'd want to put that back in the cupboard. But no, there it was for a week after they watched it. We stared every day. And it's like, but I think this might be my favorite movie poster of all time.
It is brilliant. It's brilliant. It's simple.
They didn't get there right away, despite its origins. There were several posters that they sort of jiggled around with that were a lot more sort of 70s and more exploitative. You've got the girl there with a tits out. Basically. they really went for it. They really went for it there. But they ultimately, scaled it back. It got a lot simpler with this design here, which of course lines up perfectly with the book jacket there from Peter Benchley's original novel. Yeah. So it was refined and made to look scary because there is something sort of amorphous, isn't there? It looks like a giant candle or a condom or something.
I have.
I've owned it all my life and I've never read it.
Yeah, I have it in the basement. I've never read it.
It's very different to the movie. It's very different. In the movie, Hoop has an affair with Brody's wife.
That's right.
Really?
You can tell.
That's really interesting.
Wow. The reason that this design is far more effective than the other ones, the other kind of 70-ish ones, Dan, that you showed, is because this shows that death is coming and you don't see it. you're doing something and you think you're fine, you're just swimming and death is coming for you, which is unlike those other ones where the shark and the swimmer are kind of like in the same eye line and stuff. Yeah. This is like they both know they're there. There's not that she knows the shark's there and whatever, but the main art, it's like you don't know death is coming, and that's far more terrifying.
I went to go swimming for like 6 months after this. That's kind of how they caught on to the fact that we had seen Jaws, because my grandparents had a cottage, which it's actually, that's where we first watched it on CED. And for like the rest of the summer, I refused to go swimming. It's like, no. And that's how. Did you watch Jaws? No. Did you watch Jaws? Maybe.
You know, they should do a special edition of Jaws where the driver is Jaws, right? And then it could be like a prequel.
Rabbi, you mentioned making films in AI, mate. I think that could be your calling. They did.
I tell you, Blumhouse are going to totally do that. They're the
no. Okay, I'm officially banning something from this conversation. Don't even give them any ideas of remaking Jaws. Just leave Jaws alone.
They have reshot this poster with a real shark recently. This was a couple of years ago. A marine biologist did this, try to recreate how would it look if you were to create that with a real shark.
That doesn't look. I can't say it, but that doesn't look right.
Doesn't quite cut it, does it?
I can't say it on the stream.
any day. Yeah,
I think during the 70s they did hit. They weren't scared to frighten kids or families, but also they tried to sell sex as well. On that poster it says danger, sex, and scary stuff. That's what that poster says to me. So
I'm disappointed by that first scene. Sorry. You keep expecting it because it's the 70s, but then you never see the things that would get you canceled today.
But John Williams' music carried this film, though, didn't it? John Williams' music is absolutely brilliant in this film. Absolutely terrific.
Half the reason why this movie is what it is because of the music.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than half. Well, how did he come to work on the movie? Was it Spielberg? Was it the producer?
No. Well, it was somebody introduced when Spielberg. Spielberg knew John Williams. He knew all his music before he even met him, and then he arranged to meet John Williams. And John Williams came into this restaurant to meet Spielberg, and he was looking around everywhere, and he didn't realize it was this kid sitting at the table with Steven Spielberg. And when he first met him, he was like, "It's just a kid." Do you know what I mean? And they got to become really good friends and stuff. And it was Spielberg that persuaded John Williams to do Star Wars, because John Williams was offered The Bridge Too Far. And he was telling Spielberg, "Look how many stars in this film. I've got to do this film." And Spielberg says, "No, you got to do this one, Star Wars." So because of that, they've become really great friends. So there you go.
Well, John Williams did the music for Sugarland Express too. So
he did. Yep, he did. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I've never seen Sugarland Express. Talking about
good film,
coming off one film to do another. I mean, when it came to casting this film, they looked at the kind of people that you would expect of around that time. Paul Newman, Robert Redford, all those people were up for those three main roles, or were considered, I should say. I don't think they were ever seriously up for them. But I suppose when you're putting together a project like this, you'd probably look at like who would be your ideal picks, Gary, and who were the most bankable stars of the day. So the bloke out of the Tower Inferno, one of the chaps out of Butch Cassidy. That was probably their thinking, wasn't it?
I mean, back in the early 70s, I mean, there was a lot more, kind of star power like Newman and Redford that were probably the good go-tos and stuff. And I know that, I think Lee Marvin was Spielberg's first choice for the Quint role.
Really?
But, who didn't want to do it. And somebody apparently mentioned Robert Shaw to Spielberg. And so apparently Spielberg screened for himself a couple of his movies, like Man for All Seasons and a couple others, and like, wow, he's great. And apparently Roy Scheider ran into Spielberg at a party because Spielberg was like, "I'm having trouble casting my role," and Roy Scheider was like, "Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and do it."
Great casting.
Younger,
he looks,
and I was
he looks like
the
ordinary man, doesn't he? Sorry, Dan. Sorry. Go on,
that's the
what you say?
appeal. I think that's the appeal of this. I mean, obviously when I was a kid watching this, he seemed really, really old and quite leathery. Turns out he was only like 40, 41 when they showed
Well,
him.
so Dan, you have to remember this is a
That's very
70s 41.
description of him, leathery.
He's a really good actor. I think he did French Connection before he did this film.
Yep.
So basically he was on the rise, but because of Gene Hackman, they all associate Gene Hackman with French Connection. So he was still struggling at the time. And when he met Spielberg at the party, he was talking about it, and then Spielberg said, "Okay, why don't you do it?" And and because he needed to work, he said, "Okay, I'll do it." That's how he cast him. It wasn't like he had to go for any auditions or anything. So he knew what he was capable of.
He was a sort of up-and-coming character actor who the right people were paying attention to. Is that what you're saying? It's just which part, when, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
think he looks like your ordinary
imagine anybody
man.
else in this role. Could you?
Sorry, Rabbi. What was that?
I can't really imagine anybody else. I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody contemporary in this role. I can't really think of Robert Redford, maybe.
Well, that's the
Steve
thing.
McQueen.
Back then, contemporary or now contemporary?
This has got that same quality. This has got that same quality that movies like Star Wars have. In that, I can't imagine anybody else playing any of these roles.
Yeah.
I went to see The Shark's Not Working, which is a play based on what happened to these three when they were waiting and hanging around. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. And the guy, so somebody played Robert Shaw's character, and it was Robert Shaw's son that played him on stage. And he did the speech in the film. At the ending of the play, he does the speech, and it's word perfect, and it was just like Robert Shaw. The Indianapolis speech. Yeah.
They were,
I just want to say the great thing about Roy Scheider in this, and having just rewatched it again for the umpteenth time last night, is that even though they give him a lot of characteristics like he doesn't like being out on the water. He's his wife says he's afraid of this, he's afraid of that. He's allowed to be intimidated by the mayor and the town council, but that doesn't weaken him as a character, which is, I think, to Roy Scheider's credit, that he's given a lot of things which would kind of like downsize his manhood, masculinity and stuff, but he's still a very strong central character.
It's funny you should say that, Gary, because I watched it last night as well, and something I came away from it with Ian was I won't mention that R word that Chris once vetoed. I wasn't thinking along those lines, but I was thinking in the same way that Gary was. I was thinking if this was made today, totally cold from the book, that stuff about Brody being afraid of water, they'd probably lean really heavily into that, and it'd get really quite angst-ridden, and you'd see him with waking up in a pool of sweat, and I think they'd really dial that up. But here, it's subtle, isn't it? It's just little bits of dialogue here and there in quiet moments. Because
the script is really tight and really well written. Because what happens, the turning point is when the mother comes and slaps him. That's the turning point. That's the point where he thinks he let himself down as well as the town, and he was responsible for that boy dying. And that's when he gets drunk and he goes, right, let's when he goes to Richard Dreyfuss, right, let's go and see if the boy's in the shark, basically. So that's the turning point. Really well written screenplay, fantastic screenplay.
But Ian, part of me really, and this has happened every single time I've watched the movie, when the mayor all of a sudden goes, "I'm sorry, Martin, she's wrong." I so want him to turn to the mirror and go, "How exactly is she wrong?"
No, because
say, "There's blood on your hands too, Larry."
I know, but
it's just something you say to people to make them feel better so they can function, isn't it?
Exactly. He was shell shocked though, wasn't he? Because that mother came all the way from the funeral and came all the way to Chief Brody and made herself known to him in the sharpest way.
Yeah.
And that's what knocked him for six. He didn't know what to say to her, didn't know what to say to the people around him. And that's what changed the course of that character. Yeah. Lovely screenplay, fantastically written.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. I mean, the biggest mystery I have with it, how did it make so many awful sequels? Like every sequel.
I do not hate the second movie. I will say that right now.
That's another conversation altogether. I really want to just talk about this one because it's the 50th anniversary of this film. When I look at this cast, and when I go back to this film, which is, I got to be honest, don't tell me off. This is only a film I watch every 10 to 15 years. I'm not particularly steeped in it. I don't know every line of dialogue. When it came to rewatching it this time, for example, I thought, well, shall I go and treat myself to the 4K? Because Chris was saying how he got the 4K. And I thought, well, I should at least get the Blu-ray. But I decided not to. I just stuck with my DVD, which was the 25th anniversary edition. And this, to be fair, the way this was upscaled by my 4K player looks fantastic. And sounds fantastic as well. And the searing, the sound effects, everything about it, particularly the entrance of Robert Shaw's character, that is how you steal a scene.
Yeah.
The colors are fantastic in that Blu-ray, Dan. The colors.
Hey Dan,
it's amazing.
Dan, did watching it this time anything leap out at you? Like this particular time when you watched it?
How good? For example, the last time I watched it, I was fascinated by Robert Shaw as Quinn. And don't get me wrong, I still was. And this is still an incredible entrance where he scratches the board there to get everybody's attention. You can see it in this picture there. And he gets all the best lines. But I was just as fascinated by Richard Dreyfuss, who was about 23, 24 when he made this, as Hooper. It's a fascinating character who, and I'd not picked up on before how he comes from a family who's got money,
rich,
and they've sort of bankrolled him, or at least paid his way through college. I mean, he's delivered on their belief in him, and I like that too. So he's not some sort of slacker who's getting by in a pair of plimsolls and got a spliff on the go whilst he sort of gets lucky. He's very learned and very dedicated. He proves his dedication at the tail end of the film, doesn't he? So it was the fact this time watching it, it's still mostly a character piece, despite the fact that all the attention's on the shark. And this time, what I got out of it watching it in middle age was an appreciation of the position that all of those characters are in for various different reasons. Like you were just saying, Ian, those little moments where things turn, you think, oh God, I can imagine how would I feel? What would I do? Would I stand up? Would I pay that guy 10K to go and do that thing? And so those are the questions that were on my mind. But I'm pleased to say that the film still scared me, even now.
And it's basically the film is almost split in two halves. The first half you basically have take place on land in Amity. The name Amity got a very bad name in the 70s for something that meant happy. It ends up meaning very bad things, like Amityville. But yeah, the first half is on primarily on land where you have the scary things there. But then the second half is almost completely different, where it's all claustrophobic, stuck on the boat, but on the ocean. With Jaws being a jerk. So I kind of like that as well. I think Rob Scheider gets a little bit more to play with in the second film, but that's sort of a we're not really going into that.
I don't know. I think he got a lot to play with in this film. We shouldn't
travels a lot in this.
Yeah, he does. He starts from this person who basically likes his job and it's very easy. Remember when his wife says it's summer and he says in this town nothing really happens in the town. Do you know what I mean? So he's really, and then when he's confronted by this thing, he's completely out of his depth, isn't he? That's why he calls in Hooper, and then that's why he gets really angry when his son almost gets eaten by the shark. Do you know what I mean? And that's another turning point for him.
I think because he only has a character arc really through the first few films, I won't go into it very long, but just in the second film, you really do see the trauma of what he experienced in this one. And there's the part where he just basically completely snaps in the second film, the beach scene, and then winds up.
He has PTSD in the second.
Yeah, exactly. You see his life falling apart. So that's why I think you kind of have to ignore the other ones, but you kind of have to watch the first two if you want to see Roy Scheider's complete journey as Chief Brody, where you see he's the everyman thrust into the situation, then somebody who's really is a very traumatized character. Where I view the two movies as almost like a two-part story, where to completely get him, you have to see the second movie as well. But one thing that I don't think you would see in a modern film that you do see in the first Jaws, especially a modern horror film, is you really wouldn't see that character development, because most of them don't have any character development. It's just generic person A, generic person B thrown into insert
Yeah.
blank situation C, and then watch what happens. Whereas, here in the 70s, which this was also part of New Hollywood, of which Spielberg was
70s,
probably the main, or
Yeah.
probably the most popular of those new directors that came
So it was
out.
him and Coppola and Brian De
Yeah.
Palma, maybe a couple of
Yeah.
others.
Old Hollywood hated them. But the thing that in the 70s, which
Friedkin.
contrasted to really the 50s,
Friedkin,
60s,
yeah, man.
earlier cinema, is really the focus on the character. And in many ways, the focus on the anti-hero, where, this is not the perfect character. This is somebody who from the beginning does have some flaws. And that depending on who they cast in the role, that would be very different today as well. But I think, it's kind of a lost art form. Also, the one thing that I noticed while we were watching this, because I think it's been maybe 2 years since I last watched the film, is how much I miss things that were shot on 35 mil film. Even, the odd one that is shot now on film still looks digital, where there's that. I just love the art form. And we have somebody like Spielberg, who is an absolute perfectionist. Yeah. And you watch the way this film was cut together. Same thing with Duel, same thing with, everything he did up to probably the late 90s. It's an absolute masterpiece.
I like I like the small great moments in the film. Like there's loads of them peppered around, like him and his son
I was just going to mention, yeah.
and then that bit where his son's in the boat and his wife was saying there's no danger. She looks at the book and she sees the shark breaking through the boat. And
that's a great moment.
There's all these wonderful moments in the film, right across the board. And also the direction is fucking superb. Sorry if I swear.
No, I agree. You can swear all you like.
You know about directing.
You've been shadow banned. You can say whatever you like.
Right. If you know about directing, you know that this film has been directed masterfully. If you look at it, and he was only 27, for God's sakes.
Because I was thinking about this when Chris mentioned it's sort of kind of its monster movie kind of genetics in some way, and certainly the appeal of it. It did seem to me watching it this time and the way that everything was framed, and Brody being that kind of, I suppose you could say, it's like the sheriff of a Western or something like that. He's an archetype as well, but the way that that Spielberg picks away at him, and that Peter Benchley does as well. Peter Benchley was one of two writers, wasn't he, on this? Carl Gottlieb, the writer of The Odd Couple, was the other writer on the eventual screenplay, because I went through lots. But he picks away at his lead character, and I thought, and that's when it hit me. I think that this was either intentionally or not. This is very much in line with what Hitchcock had been doing in the 50s and into the early to mid 60s. And I don't think that Hitchcock ever went out of fashion as such, Rabbi, but I think he was sort of usurped by disaster movies like Tower Inferno and Earthquake and all that stuff.
You know what? He was usurped by the type of movies they make today, which are like mindless mindless spectacle, right? I would say, but quality comes back. That's why I'm very optimistic about cinema moving forward. We've had look. I like the superhero movies. Don't get me wrong, but they just got to a point where they throw money at problems rather than think about it. Right? Again, one reason movies is great is because they had to work out what to do with the shark model that didn't work, and it was very clever, right? And also. The music was also huge, but it was just a good, solid movie, right? It was an entertaining 2 hours at the cinema. You so rarely get that. I saw the recent Mission Impossible, and I was very happy because that's exactly what I had. Like, I want a good time at the cinema.
Yeah,
and this offered it. The more you offer this, the more successful it will be. This is the only.
Rabbi, even though it's quite talky and quite quiet in places, that 2 hours still goes quickly, doesn't it?
Yes, whizzes by.
Yeah.
I like the stuff that people don't see, because I'm a director and I notice these things. But I never forget the scene where they all get on the boat, all the three of them. And then they ride out to sea, and then there's a shot from Quint's house, which is looking out of his window, and there's a shark teeth hanging there.
Yeah, I like
that. And in between the shark teeth, you see the boat driving
Oh
off.
yeah.
And what Spielberg is saying, is that they're riding into danger just with that one shot alone.
Yeah,
and that's masterful directing. Masterful, absolute masterful.
There's some subtle things too. One of the things in that same scene, Ian, I noticed is that what they the whole scene where they're prepping and everything, and Quint's razzing Hooper and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in a way, what they are each taking with them, to me, reflects the character of all three. You have Quint taking the M1 rifle and what he calls a killing lance. You have Hooper taking his shark cage and his scientific instruments, his temperature gauge, and Brody's taking his Dramamine and his Blistex. And it's like that to me is a really clever way of telling us something about each of the characters without realizing you're being told something.
No dialogue. There's another bit later on in the film as well, towards the back end of the movie, where they're all on the orca and they're the shark is sort of circling them, and they're plotting how to catch it. But the ship is taking in water, and Quinn comes out from the cabin, and he throws Hooper and Brody a life jacket each, and then sort of casually leans against. He's not going to wear one. He's never going to put one on again.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, he's not putting one on.
Well, that's one of those great things about the screenplay, because he does that speech, right, and he said he'll never wear one again. He basically, in other words, what he's saying is what he did was he's saying that he cares about the other two, even though he's rough with them. Yeah. He wants them to survive, and he gives them those two. He didn't have to do that. He gives them those two, and he doesn't take one because he'll never wear one again. So, as I'm saying, the screenplay is really finite. There's some really fantastic moments of screenplay which people do not see. It goes right over their head. So many things in that screenplay that they do, and subconsciously you read it, but again, you don't spot it. So that's how good the screenplay is.
How long were they on the boat together? Because that to me seems to be the heart of the movie.
Well, it's the second half. One of my
the second half.
I would say
in my mind, the second half. It might be the last half an hour.
Less than 2 days, because the only night they spend together is the night where of the telling of the Indianapolis story. Mm-hmm. Everything else is during the day, so they're only out there at the most a day and a half.
Oh man, and the barrels with the little flashy lights. I just remember at the end of the story, the barrel floating up. What that great storytelling device.
Yes,
absolute genius.
Well, Ian, I want to ask this to Ian really quickly, because I know that he's studied this with directorial. What is the story with those two kind of like shooting stars that happened?
That's real
during one of the like dusk scenes or whatever. I thought
they're both real.
Is that, were they real? Okay.
They're both real. They just caught them. That's I've read with Close Encounters and Jaws. I've read every book imaginable about those films, so I know quite a lot about it. But those shots were real, because there's that scene in it where the boat's just floating and you see the little shooting star. They didn't know they captured that until they saw the side of the
I noticed that as well. Yeah. If it had been now, I'd have thought it was
natural things.
Actually, if it had been 10 years later, come to think of it, never mind now, I'd assumed it had been painted in, I suppose. Look, if you haven't seen Jaws for a little while, we've all watched it in the not too recent past. You may not be familiar with some of these little sort of creases to the film, or you might have forgotten the appeal of those characters. So here's a quick bite of Jaws.
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws.
That's a 20-footer.
25. 3 tons on him.
Hurry up, he's coming straight for us. Don't screw it up now. Don't wait for me. Now! Shoot! Watch the tail.
If you forgot what terror is like. Rated PG.
Everybody's favorite voiceover man.
That's the shot I was talking about when it just
it's
a really lovely shot. I love the sequence on the what's that thing where that carries them across the sea? What is it called?
A boat.
Another bit where
the ferry. The ferry.
The ferry. I love that ferry shot, because that's all done in one shot. That they didn't cut on that scene at all.
I totally didn't notice that. Honestly, you should do a commentary for this movie. It'll be great.
And you know what? I just got to say, I watched this scene after I just saw it again. I paused and rewound it because I thought this is just beyond brilliant. Is the scene where the two guys are throwing out the piece of meat to try to get the shark, and then the whole thing about where it's going out, and then the dock turns. So the dock basically becomes, in our minds as the viewers, the shark, you know, but it's the dock that's turning around and heading for him. Brilliant. That's we don't need to see the shark in that scene. We don't need to see it.
There's some wonderful lines in the film. Was that line about the island? It's only an island if you look at it from the water.
Oh,
says was it Roy Schneider's line? It's really good, really good.
Right,
and that bit where he goes down in the water, and the thing that the head comes out, Ben Gardner's head comes out with the eye. That scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It really did. Yeah, it's fantastic. This is Mrs. Kittner, isn't it?
Yeah, this character. Again, these characters, when you're a kid and you watch this film, they kind of pass you by a little bit. Growing up saying stuff you don't understand, particularly, but obviously when you get older, you're aware of what's happened. Particularly once one's a parent, obviously it does change the way that we take in these kind of movies.
Isn't there a weird story about this? And I may be telling it wrong, but that woman, right? She wasn't
to a restaurant. Even an actress, was she?
Yeah, no, she went years later. She went to a restaurant, and she was being served, and there was this sign on with Jaws thing on the thing, and she didn't realize that the person that was serving her was the little boy that played her son in the film.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I think
weird.
that's always true. Yeah.
Wow.
And they both realized that they were both who they were, and so there you go. It might be the other way around.
Her name was Lee Ferrero, and she was a resident of the actual area where it was filmed, and so she wasn't an actress at all. She was very nervous about. I did look this up. She was very nervous about slapping Roy Schneider in particular. She ended up slapping the guy 17 times, knocking his glasses off, all that kind of thing. Unfortunately, she passed away during the COOF. Reaching a good old age.
See,
sorry, another thing I like to point out. You know that bit where the guy is, say, he's on the boat and he's got a hat on. He looks a bit like Quint. Well, Quint based his character. Robert Shaw based his character on that guy that lived on that island.
Are you talking about the big giant guy when Drake goes, "Hello, young fella. How are you?"
Yes, him.
That one?
He is Quint.
Yeah.
He is Quint. He lives in that island, and Robert Shaw met him and took his character to be, even the hat and everything. He looks like Quint when you meet him. So there you go. So
this scene right here in my mind is why logically there shouldn't be any sequels, because Mrs. Kittner would have sued that town into bankruptcy.
That should have been the sequel. The town's deserted.
No, in the sequel, they're doing it all over again, because you got that corporate people are evil angle as well, which was very popular in the 70s. People are dying. No, we need to keep our beach. People are dying. I don't care. People are dead. Oh, crap.
I think I'd assumed that Robert Shaw's character was based on Moby Dick. On who was it? Gregory Peck in that movie?
Yeah.
No, it was that man. Because when he moved into the space where they were living in that island to make Jaws, he met that guy, and then he based everything that you see on that guy. So there you go. I read that in the book. So you know, didn't get off the internet. I read it on the book. Exactly.
It's just struck me that we are live streaming this to YouTube and over to Rumble as well. We've got some comments built up, so I think it's only fair that we go and check in with everybody who's listening and watching along and see which memories we've managed to kick up from the seabed as we've been talking through our memories and experiences watching Jaws then and now.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Tape what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away.
If it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
Yeah, we're all back, and so is Ian Scales there in the live chat, one of many people back with the Spacebook, welcoming us back after a couple of months away. Thank you, everybody who's chipping in with this so far, including Tom from T Dwarf Productions, model maker extraordinaire, Simon Bartlett's here too, and Lord Thoth as well. And Ian says, I remember being allowed into Sittingbourne second tiny cinema room to watch Jaws as a young child. I spent much of the time hidden down behind the seats, and he loved it. It terrified me the first time I saw it, even though it was, oh God, when would it have been? 81, 82 maybe? It would have been on ITV after they'd have premiered it. I would have recorded it, but it was probably later than that, maybe even 83, 84. I didn't see it until a long time after it came out. We've got lots of hellos from Mr. Matt and Ashfin. Dr. Alex, too, is in the live chat. Bruce, says Simon Bartlett. Bruce Forsyth? What's Bruce?
That was Bruce was the name of the shark.
It was the name of the shark.
Like, that's what they
call
the
right,
shark.
yes.
Yeah.
People love stories about the shark. It's understandable, I suppose, isn't it? I mean, Roy Schneider believed that the shark was the real star of the film. I think he was dabbing himself with faint praise there. But it's true, but not true. I think true, but not true. And all the legends
the
you hear
idea
about
of the shark was a star.
Are probably true. Tharis is in the live chat. All right, guys. All right, Tharis. And we've got Rose Kirby as well there. Hi, Rose. Good to see you as well. PD Rich is here in the live chat, one of our many moderators. Thank you, everybody, all the mods who've come in to spend some time with us, checking out this classic film and finding out what we've got to say. Tom Haynes is one. So is Stephen Braddock too. Thank you, Stephen. And
that's a great picture, Stephen. That's awesome.
I want to see that movie.
It's like Kermit and Jaws.
When's that Muppet movie coming out?
I'd still watch that.
Soon.
He'd throw Miss Piggy into the jaws to escape.
Archer Collins says, to be honest, I'm not sure if I've ever seen Jaws. If I did, it was a very long time ago.
Oh,
you know what? I think you could. In all fairness, we've talked about some of the little bits and pieces that we all love and that stayed with us this time. But the truth of the matter probably is, Rabbi, that the film, the Jaws film itself, has entered so much into the sort of the popular lexicon through parodies and all manner of things. I would imagine Family Guy has probably spoofed it umpteen times alone. That you could probably know everything about the movie and not actually having seen it, just like Colin.
It's part of our culture now. It really, but the reason it's so culturally important is it's a darn good movie, and you just that's really the bottom line. It's young people being at the starting to climb to the top of their game. And it was the beginning of a whole new Hollywood. What was this next movie after this? Spielberg.
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters, was it?
That further cements my view that he was originally a horror director.
But the thing is, he was a horror. If you look at Temple of Doom, the only reason why he stopped doing that was because of Temple of Doom, where he got a lot of sticks. If you watch Temple of Doom, it's horrifying moments in that.
Oh,
film.
I was really taken aback when I watched the Blu-ray of it because they had all the bits they cut out in England. There's like I was like, wow, that was it. But also, the thing that's we're going to go a little Temple of Doom tangent. The thing that amazed me about that is how clearly low the budget was compared. Most of it was shot on set, right? It was. It seemed like a really a Netflix movie budget.
Yeah,
people are dropping bits of wisdom. People are dropping their own factoids and bits of wisdom in the live chat, Ian, including Dr. Alex, who confides it was originally meant to be a sequel to Duel, but the lorry kept sinking.
Very good, Alex.
I want to see Jaws on land. He can be, just the driver of the thing. But Temple of Doom. Yeah, I think one of the most horrifying sequences in film history, which traumatized me the first time I saw it, when I probably shouldn't have when I was a kid. Thanks, Dad. Was that heart ripping out scene.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the first scene even to this day, that whole thing, maybe it's because it traumatized me as a kid, but this guy is a genius. His current movies are a little bit lacking, but he was pretty much at the top of Hollywood for 3 decades.
9 times out of 10, if you pick a Spielberg movie, it's going to be a good movie. I mean, he's still. I mean, he's done some stuff.
He makes good movies. He just doesn't make masterpieces anymore.
Well, let's not forget, as Ian knows, that he directed the first regular episode of Columbo.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I mean, the thing about Spielberg
do you think in doing something like that, Ian, because Jaws was a TV movie as well, that even though he was working in television, thinking in a cinematic way would have been, because they went to, again, 3 or 4 different directors before this, including Michael Winner, for this. They didn't want to give it to Spielberg, but because he just had a reasonable success with Sugarland Express, it was Universal, wasn't it? Universal pushed for him. Yeah. And so do you think demonstrating those skills, whatever medium you're working in, even now, for example, if you're in new media, if you show your ambition in what you're doing, regardless of the limits of your medium at the time, it will be recognized. Is that the lesson to take from this?
Maybe. Look, all I know is that when it comes to directors, Michael Winner directs A to B style, but Spielberg, his foot was in the old way of directing as well as the new way of directing. He did little oneers in Jaws, which is pretty amazing. Nobody realizes that scene when they confront the mayor and they see the poster, that's been defiled. Nobody realizes that was all done in one shot. All in one shot.
Really?
Wow.
Sometimes when you think about it, you think it's done. It's all done in one shot. So Spielberg was in the 40s, they used to shoot that way, where basically it was like a play. When film was new, so they used to shoot in and move the camera to compensate for the actors. And Spielberg learned that way. If you watch the first Columbo episode, that's what he does mostly in that Columbo episode. So he was the right director to direct this film because it was so much in trouble. You know that scene where Brody goes into the shop to make the posters saying the beach is closed,
right?
And he grabs and it falls over. That's an outtake. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so they just left all that stuff in. You know what I mean? Because Spielberg knew that it worked. So again, what a genius!
Because it was naturalistic.
What a great movie.
Do you think that's what when you think about something that is a monster movie that's quite broad and populist in its appeal? That whilst I wouldn't say it lends it any kind of deeper meaning, it's about the human condition or anything like that, but leaving in those little moments or letting it run that bit more, like the family interactions you're speaking about earlier on, things that may have gone just slightly wrong. If somebody had walked into a camera, obviously they can't keep that in, but little things that we all do, like accidentally knock something with our arm, or things like that.
Yeah, I think it's Spielberg's really good at bringing the family into horror. Right, whether it be E.T., there was a bit of horror in E.T., whether it be Temple of Doom, you got to admit that was a family unit.
Poltergeist would be the big one.
Poltergeist, that was a family unit. Was Indy, Willie, and Short Round. That was a family unit. But the thing I like about Jaws is they have those little tiny things that you don't notice. Like when he goes into the kitchen, when you first see Brody, and the phone rings, he picks up one phone, but it's the wrong phone. He puts it down, he picks up another and while he's talking. So that's what I'm saying. It's all those little things because those are the things that we experience as normal people. If you look at Jaws, the TV's always on, which is that. And if you look at Jaws, his place is a mess. That's what. That's what I'm saying. So he connects us with the family. Then he piles on the fantasy or the horror, and that's what he did exactly.
Because the situation that they're in is very heightened and unlikely, but by doing that, when everything about their world is very likely, and
well, that's one thing I always look at when I watch movies. I love watching what's going on in the background, and I like little touches like that where it's like everybody, even back then, people always had a TV on in the background. But one thing specifically about Spielberg is when he got out of film school, I guess he was cocky, although the guy's a genius, so he deserved to be cocky. But he didn't want to do TV. He just wanted to be a film producer. But at that point, I think he was like 22. And nobody's going to give a 22-year-old a film. So he's like, okay, I'll prove myself in TV. And he got a couple roles. But when he got that Columbo episode, if you watch that compared to every other Columbo episode that wasn't directed by Spielberg, it has a different feel. And then it's interesting to listen to Spielberg himself talk about that episode of Columbo where he went in and he's like, I'm going to shoot this like a film. And if you look at that one episode, like the angles he's using, things that you don't see on TV. So it's I just think it's kind of cool.
The very first shot of that Columbo episode he directs, you see the car driving down the road, and then the camera pulls out, and it pulls out so far that you're inside somebody's office. You know what I mean? So he knew exactly what he was doing.
I want to remind people who may not be aware, we have reviewed both Duel and Columbo on our listed archive movies and TV shows as well. So all of that is up here on the channel.
Okay, Dan, my question for you is this. If the Muppets did a version of Jaws, how do they cast it? Obviously, Kermit is Roy Schneider. But would you do Fozzie as...
Fozzie would be Quint.
Yes,
absolutely.
He was going to be Jaws.
I would cast Scooter as Hooper. Would I cast? Oh no, maybe I'd.
Interesting.
Who's the Muppet with the beaky nose?
That's Gonzo.
Gonzo's got to be
the man.
Hooper.
I've got it. Miss Piggy is Jaws, and she's after Kermit.
Lucy Meow says in the 70s and the 80s, Hollywood knew how to make movies about normal people that looked real in worlds that looked as lived in. Now they try and make everything look perfect, don't they? So all the furniture's always just so, and they augment everything with
and the majority
with CGI
of it
and
was
things.
about working class people as well. The majority of films in the 70s and the 80s, it was always based on a working class, blue collar person. If you look at the majority of the films, from Gremlins straight across to Jaws, straight across to Close Encounters, the guy in Close Encounters, he was a blue collar worker, wasn't he? He was working for the power thing. So as I'm saying, I think they've forgotten about that in Hollywood now. I don't know what kind of films they're making, but
well, again,
if Spielberg hadn't spent the first hour getting us to like the characters and identify with them and put us in, the fact that they're in jeopardy for the last hour we wouldn't be as invested.
Exactly. And it's that line. It's one line always makes me laugh when he's dressed in his uniform and he's going out the house, and the wife is swinging with the kid on the swings, and he has the cup of coffee, and she says to him, "I want my cup back," and he says, "Well, you'll get it," and then he gets into the car and he drives off. So little moments like that that actually brings you closer to the character. Because it's the things we do. It's the things we do. Do you know what I mean?
Mr. Matt says Jaws is such a good film. He never even noticed Quint's fishing chair. Went for a walk in the second half of the movie. People enjoy spotting things like that, Chris.
Yeah, well, it's also like in the scene on the Orca where they're together and they're showing their injuries. Then they start drunkenly singing. Like that's I think again is something that you probably wouldn't see now. It's just it doesn't really add much to the plot, but it's like these are real people, and I think one of the reasons why you had focus on regular people, on just normal working class people in the 70s, it was a reaction to what you had in the 50s and 60s. Where especially in sort of like adventure type movies, it was always on like the upper class or the 19th century gentleman and crap like that, which is I kind of hope that there's another reaction when this current trend from hell is finally done, where we can get back to film. And one of the comments was the problem with 35 mil film now is that it's expensive. Well, yes, in theory. Well, it's about even in its heyday, it was still about $1,000 per 10 minutes of film. But if you look at film budgets and you cut out your worthless effects that don't add anything anyway, I would love to, you don't need effects. Like in the 70s, a lot of these movies like don't have any effects at all. It was more about the character. Everything's shot on location. Story. You don't need to build sets. And I think Ian, because you've read about this, was any of this movie shot on physical sets? Because I think it was all just an actual location.
No, none of it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Everything was shot. Yeah, everything was shot on that island. Everything, even Brody's house and everything. In fact, the Islanders hated them. They wanted them off the island. They hated them, hate the whole crew, because they were there for almost a year, and they were just messing up things right across the board. So they were almost there for a year.
It's really funny if you watch some of the documentaries, of them, because they had to sit around, especially all of the domestic stuff. Like the first half was filmed first, and all the sea stuff was filmed later. And apparently Richard Dreyfuss, it seems like, always gets a kick of talking about how as they're waiting around, on the beach, said the whole island is filled with everybody, with the crew with their walkie-talkies. And he says every day you could hear like people going the shark is not working. The shark is not working. Attention, the shark is not working. Like every day.
Yeah,
you know.
But they had a feud, didn't they? Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw. They didn't like each other. I mean, there's not a clear, definitive story what actually happened, but we do know that Robert Shaw used to dig at Richard Dreyfuss every day, because Richard Dreyfuss was one of those actors that was what do you call that kind of acting? He was steeped in that method. He was method. And Robert Shaw hated it because Robert Shaw's not from that.
Well, apparently Richard Dreyfuss says that Robert Shaw, what he characterized him as like unnecessarily competitive in every aspect of his life. So it's like, you're right, for Richard Dreyfuss, it's like, I bet you can't do like 10 push-ups. And Dreyfuss is like, I bet you I can do 20. And it's like that kind of stuff.
You remember the bit with the beer can? The beer can, and he has the paper cup.
Yeah,
you know, when Quint crushes the beer can and he crushes the paper cup. That was made up obviously on the day, but that was because the feud, and Spielberg encouraged them to do that. But they didn't like each other. But apparently, as years went on, they ended up respecting each other. So there you go. But Richard Dreyfuss was always.
I think Robert Shaw passed away only 3 or 4 years after.
Yeah, 1978. After he did The Deep, which was another Peter Benchley.
Yeah.
And also another moment that people seem to forget. Do you remember when Richard Dreyfuss has the camera and he says to Chief Brody, "Go out, so I get a bit of scale."
Yes,
and he's like, "No, I'm not doing that." It's such a great moment.
Yeah, he's like, "Damn it, Martin, get to the end."
Yeah.
But you know, actually, during that Indianapolis speech, I mean, even knowing that professionally they might have been kind of feuding, he still acknowledges Shaw as a great writer.
He does. He does. Yeah.
But during that scene, I don't watch Robert Shaw. I'm looking at, if you watch Richard Dreyfuss during that scene, Richard Dreyfuss is sitting there mesmerized at Robert Shaw doing that scene.
Yeah. And do you know they did it twice, or no, 3 times. The first time Robert Shaw was drunk and he got really drunk, and then he did the scene and he fouled it up. And then they went home and he rang up Spielberg and he says, "I'm really sorry I embarrassed you, Spielberg." And Spielberg was like, "Don't worry, we'll get it tomorrow." And on the third take, he completely got it. And that's why Richard Dreyfuss was so of awe. When you look at his face, he's awe. It's not because of he was playing a character, it's because he was in awe of Robert Shaw getting all the lines right. So,
well, Robert Shaw rewrote that scene. Apparently, it was 10 to 15 pages, and Robert Shaw's like, I can't do all this. And he gave it to him, and he went home and collapsed it himself into like 5 pages, and then just did it right up. So that scene was written by Robert Shaw.
Yeah, and there's another moment as well, right? Again, I would say I love these small moments. You know, the bit where everybody's going to the meeting. You know, that meeting when Robert Shaw turns up. Before that meeting starts, you see them coming down the corridor, and as they're coming around the corridor, Brody hits his head on the sign. He hits his head on. Do you see that where he hits the head on the sign, and he keeps going? So it's all those little moments like that, I think, that makes Jaws. I notice these small little things that makes Jaws really work really well. So anyway, whatever. It's a great
movie. Whatever. A great movie full of great shots, great characters, and chills that stay with you for life. A bunch of Wallace says, "I've only seen the first 5 minutes of the film." That's how scared he was. He could only
tell you what,
It's a great movie.
You heard that name, mate. Bunch of Wallace. You got to watch that movie. It's awesome.
The thing is, though, guys, the reason why we can sit and watch this movie is because we're from a different time. With people of today, right? They can't even stand 5 minutes of a movie if nothing's happening. Do you know what I mean? So I don't blame him if that's the.
You know what, Ian? I think the movies of today aren't very good. Like, if I watch a mediocre movie from 10 years ago, I'm not looking at my phone. Like, you watch X-Men 3, which was kind of naff. You are connected. You are sucked into that movie. Today, movies are really, really poor. You get a few. Sorry, I did think some booms from an air raid, but
oh my gosh,
please,
all good.
But I was up all night last night. They keep getting up. I'm just waiting to see if anything's happening. Anyway, no, we're all fine. But the what was I just saying?
Movies. You're talking about
We're
movies.
talking about movies now and how they suck.
The quality of writing is shocking, right?
Yeah.
I think the trouble is we went from a generation of readers. Generation of readers can write good movies. Now people are writing movies grew up playing video games, and that's why most movies feel like big video games where they have like problem solution problems. They're written like most those Marvel movies. They're essentially video. They're content. They totally fit the.
They check the box in every certain way. See, I think, Rabbi, the frustrating thing is I think there are definitely people out there that could come up with brilliant movies, something like this that is unlike modern stuff, actually good. They're just not given a chance because your lower and mid budget movies don't exist anymore because everything is made to just throw everything you can to get your $1 billion movie, and you spend $500 million making something that's crap. This is why and it could be futile hope, but my hope for the future of film is I want to see those mid budget and low budget films come back. It's put them back in, as cinema is dying because all they've been fed is crap. I want to go back to, say, the days when you have the small cinema where you'll have, movies of lower budgets. Like you could do something for $5 to $10 million and make it good. And I think the other thing that these older movies had that new ones didn't is I think when you're shooting on film, because of the cost, every shot has to count. Because if you waste 10 minutes of film or blowing every scene or whatever, you've just thrown away $1,000. It'd be a lot more now, I'm assuming, because film is a niche item, probably like $10,000 per 10 minutes now. So back then you had to make every shot count. Whereas part of the problem now, which is lazy, is we'll just shoot it. Just put instead of film, you've got like a flash card that anybody can get, just regular high-speed flash card. You can get a Walmart, put that in your Red Cam or whatever it is you're using. It's like, it's whatever. Yeah, we could do it again. You don't have to be creative with effects. We'll throw it in post, CG.
It's the discipline of making films. When you're shooting on film, every actor is rehearsed to a point where they know all their lines. The cameraman knows where he's going. The director of photography knows that he's lit it well, because when it goes on film, that's what you see. But today it's completely different. And do you know what, right? It's a blessing to the independent filmmaker the way it is now. But I guess the independent filmmaker has to realize that they have to make something of quality rather than just make something, if you know what I mean. So,
well, I've built this live streaming as like Jaws being the dawn of a new age of film, because it was very much the first blockbuster movie. The phrase didn't really exist before this film. Have you seen it yet? You've got to see it. What about that bit where we call them water cooler moments, I suppose, now? So you could say Jaws established the whole tradition, I suppose, of the summer blockbuster, which dominated for the best part of 30 years, maybe slightly longer. And I love all those movies and I love that time. But there's also the side to it where, because it was so successful, and the films that followed in that mold, some deliberately, some of which were sort of films that were put together on a wing and a prayer, like Star Wars, as those films started to deliver, it became, I suppose, natural that the studios started to focus on only releasing those higher budgets, because the budgets would start going up, wouldn't they? So that they would focus on those higher budget movies, event-driven cinema, to fill initially the summer months, but then they'd start to look at their whole year in kind of blocks in that way. So you could say it actually had a detrimental effect on independent cinema, on films, on smaller studies, I suppose, and of character-based storytelling that could just push them into the margins, maybe.
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, I worked in the 90s. I worked for as a copy editor at the Hollywood Reporter for a while, so I was kind of living the block. I mean, the movie, like totals and all that kind of stuff every day. And it really seemed like, that summer became the thing. It's like Memorial Day was the opening day. And then You have June and July. August was still summer, but August is where you kind of like release the B-level summer movies, you know, as summer's waning. And then things don't revive again until Christmas, where you release all the kind of Oscar bait stuff. And then January and February are like, you know, the leftovers that weren't good enough to release like during the holiday season. So almost every season during the year had its own character, and it kind of colored the types of movies that were released. You know, if it's June and July, most of the movies are going to come out will be great. If it's September or October, yeah, it's kind of iffy. January and February, it's probably crap, you know, and it took on that tone.
Talking about Oscars, right? Spielberg never got nominated for director that year for Jaws. That's shocking, don't you think?
Surprising.
Absolutely shocking.
It's a beautiful film that holds retention all the way through. I was looking at the conclusion, and I'd got the impression that the film got quieter and quieter as it went along. But I hadn't seen it for a few years. There's lots of action in that last 20 to 25 minutes, and the tension, it gets very, very heightened. But I think that the thing that struck me this time watching it, which is something you don't get from modern movies, and I don't think we've had for a while, is how, and this could be a bad thing, because obviously it all gets very, very heightened. And even though I've seen this film several times, you know that Roy Schneider survives, but you do forget that he survives, and so you're sort of willing him to. You think, how many bullets has he got left in that gun? Is he going to make that shot? But as soon as that happens, and obviously he's reunited with the other surviving character,
Hooper,
and then they sort of paddle away. And then the film, within a minute or two after him making that shot, the film ends. It ends very quietly with just a couple of lines. You think, and I don't know if I found that refreshing watching it this time, or if I wasn't a little frustrated because I can't imagine that the book ended like that. I suspect there was more at the back end.
Hooper died in the book. Yeah.
Did he?
But yeah, he did. But the thing is, though, with the credits, because in those days they didn't really deem the credits at the ending too important.
Yeah.
So they flashed up whatever they could at the ending. But today it goes on forever. The credits, doesn't it? It just keeps going and going and going.
10 minutes on average.
But if you watch these credits all the way to the end, to the very, very, very last shot is the two of them actually standing up and actually walking onto land.
Yeah.
Then it goes. So the credits almost kind of tell their own little story. But I really quickly, I was very proud of myself because, Dan, in the last shot you had with Schreider with the gun, I can't believe I didn't notice this until the last time I just watched it. That really, what that shows is that the shark is killed really by all three of them in a way. You have Brody using Quint's rifle and Hooper's compressed air tank to kill it. And so I realized, wow, all three of them really did play a part in finally killing the shark. And
they made that up on the day. You know that, don't you? They made that up. In the book, the shark drowns. Okay, believe it or not, that's how it dies. But in this film, Spielberg was like, I want an explosion, and let's do this. And everybody kept saying to him, if you fire at that canister, it's not going to explode. That's not what happens if you fire at it. And Spielberg said, I don't care, let's just do it. And they did. So there you go.
People talk about this shot quite a lot as well, Ian. Not just filmmakers, everybody talks about this shot, the Jaws shot, this dolly shot, which has again been spoofed so many times.
Yeah.
What do they call that shot of the zoom in and zoom out simultaneously?
I can't remember, but it was from Vertigo. Vertigo was the first film to do it with James Stewart. Yeah, Hitchcock.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
That must have been when you first looked down. You got that Vertigo.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've watched this film and realised how hot Lorraine Gray was as well as Ellen Brody. So there is something new.
Wasn't she married to the head of Universal at the time?
Yeah, she was. She was. Yeah, she was. I can't believe Spielberg was only 27 when he directed this. My God. Yeah. Wow. That's one talented man right there. Crazy. Wow.
Can we talk for a second about why you think Quint kind of goes manic at the end? He smashes the radio. He pushes the boat till it can't move, and the look on his face, you can say, boy, this guy's gone manic. Or am I
feels alive? It's because he feels alive.
Really?
It's-
Okay.
Yeah, that's the impression I get.
I think it was because that he was peeved because he couldn't. He realized he couldn't. There's, his great plan is not working because then he gives in, doesn't he? He says to Quint, he says to Hooper, "What could this thing do?" Do you know what I mean? And he says, "Well, if I can get close, if I can prod him, we can inject him with this cc of blah blah blah, whatever it is." So he actually gives up, doesn't he? When the whole boat blows up and they're just floating there, he's got no alternative but to give the reins to Hooper and his cage. Right, that's the thing. But he's annoyed when he's making his boat go because he wants to drown the shark, because that's how they drown the shark in the book. That's why the shark was following him, so he was trying to boost the boat, but it blew up, didn't it? So yeah, he was peed.
I want just really quickly. I want to go back. I want to go back to Dan's point about the fact that this was like the first big blockbuster. I think this was the first movie to make over $100 million domestically in the U.S. And because it made over $100 million here, and it hadn't even opened, to my understanding, in foreign markets. But I think the other thing I think that we've lost in the 50 years since this is really the how powerful the kind of communal experience of something like this is, how you can get in, go into a sold out theater with a crowd that's reacting with screaming and all of that adds the experience. It happened again with Star Wars. And the way it is now, those kind of theater packed communal experiences just aren't there. Everybody's content just to kind of sit at home. And that kind of experience has its own power. I mean, whether it be a Bond movie back in the day or this or Star Wars, it's just gone.
Do you know what they should do?
Blame the internet.
You know what they do with the computer games, right? So if you buy a computer game, you could literally play with someone across the world, right, in there. What they should do is they should release a film where everybody is watching that film at that moment in time, and they can talk to each other.
I mean, the only thing that's come close,
the only thing that's come close
lately. Well, the only thing that's come close lately is that Minecraft movie, and that was just about watching TikTok videos of people destroying the theater. It's not really the same thing, but
nah, I guess not. Sorry, Rabbi, what were you saying?
I can't remember. I think I was agreeing with you.
All right.
I got too much going on here to really focus. I'm sorry.
Well, I want to ask, when was the last time that really, and I'm being serious, when was the last time that any of you guys can remember being in a theater, packed crowd, where just that experience of being in the theater and watching it that way alone added to the memory of the movie?
Independence Day in 1996.
Independence
Day. I remember.
Yeah. Okay. The biggest
one was Jurassic Park.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Park.
Oh, really, Rabbi? Okay.
Spider-Man No Way Home. I was in a packed theater, and it was the first time after COVID. It was a movie, and it wasn't lecturing you. It was just fun.
Yeah, you're right. The Spider-Man No Way Home was packed when I saw it as well, and people were cheering. And
it was when I saw it as well, but I think it was a different kind of anticipation. I think if I look at something like Jaws, the last time I can think of watching something with a bunch of people feeling like I was watching a pop culture bomb going off was probably Wes Craven's first Scream film.
Oh God, that was 96. And Lord Toth, the movie has not aged. I'm just responding to Lord Toth's comment. I will agree, the movie has not aged well. But as somebody who went to see it that opening week, like it was, I was somebody who spent, from the time I was a kid going to movies. It was, to this day, I think, the biggest movie event I've been a part of. That opening night, like it was massive. It looks ridiculous now.
Day again. Is this Independence Day again?
Yeah, Independence Day. It's one of those that was it set a lot of the tropes that we've seen since then. Roland Emmerich is just making the same movie over and over again. But no, it was the last major event movie. But I think Jurassic Park was huge too. That was
Do you know the film that I really enjoyed in the cinema, and you probably laugh at this, right? And the crowd laughed at every joke, and the crowd cheered, and when it was For Your Eyes Only, the James Bond film.
I thought you were going to say a James Bond movie. I thought you were going to
seriously.
Spy
No, it was For Your Eyes Only. You know what, right? I was in a packed cinema, right?
Yeah,
and they laughed at every joke. they screamed at the manufacturer thing. Do you know what I mean? It was probably the most fun I've ever had in a movie theater watching that film. But there you go.
I mean, I remember
Jaws.
it's so funny, Rabbi, you mentioned Spy Who Loved Me, because I was thinking that too, because I remember being a kid going to Spy Who Loved Me and the audience erupting when the Union Jack parachute opens up at the start of it. Everybody went nuts.
Well, I mean, that really was the age of the blockbuster, right? We're talking about when the blockbuster started. That's much more of a blockbuster. That Union Jack parachute, that whole opening sequence is brilliant. What was that, 77?
That was 77, yeah.
Yeah.
And what year was this? 79?
Jaws 75.
Oh, well, again, I think we're in the same ballpark.
This was a massive pop culture phenomena, of course, dominating the mainstream too, even on the front cover of Time magazine, as we can see here. Wow. It was marketed in a way I'm not sure that had ever been done before. We talked about the film poster earlier on. We've looked at one of the TV spots. That didn't really happen apparently around that time. Obviously, it was before my time, but apparently that wasn't something that happened regularly. TV spots for movies just wasn't a thing. It was sort of never the twain shall meet. But it was also merchandised in a very particular way, one that I haven't ever got over.
Jaws. Jaws is the game where you try to fish out what's in the jaws of the great white shark.
I'm going for the camera. Made it.
But be careful, because if you remove the wrong piece, the jaws will get you. And you're out. Jaws. It's you against the great white shark and each other from Ideal.
Just talk for a minute about how they used to make commercials that were in no way.
I had that toy.
Why wasn't there a little Alex? Why wasn't there a little Alex Kittner figure?
Yeah, no.
They were picking out. Yeah, that would make sense.
I would have
all of the game is you should add all his parts of his body to reassemble him.
I would have killed for the Ideal Games Jaws toy game thing. I really wanted this in for years and years and years. I coveted this. I used to look at it in the back of catalogs and all manner of things. And so because of adverts like that, I mean, when you look at it up close, does it look like Jaws? Well, perhaps not really. It still looks pretty cool. And it got the poster on the box as well. So I wanted it because Jaws was a big thing, and who wouldn't want this? These sell for like hundreds of pounds, dollars now, particularly if they're boxed. But it's so much fun.
Speaking of movie merch, I did you see? I've no really interest in seeing the movie. I'll say it maybe. The Fantastic Four. They got a Galacticus head as a popcorn bucket. It's huge, right? That looks fantastic. It's $75.
Popcorn buckets are the new things, aren't they? There's one for Jaws as well for the re-releases. I've seen that too.
Oh yeah.
I just hopped onto eBay. You can get a couple of these in pretty good shape for about $100. But the brand new one, vintage, looks like it's totally unopened in the box for $2,000.
Oh well.
There you go.
Sure.
Sadly, it's a never shall be for me with this. I'm afraid to say, but I can look at the pictures. Well,
$85.
A gun, an anchor. There's no number plate in there. That would have been cool if they'd have had the number plate. Mind you, that was a different shark. That was a tiger shark.
Ian, why did you get rid of this? Ian said he had it. I would never have gotten rid of it.
It's probably under his bed somewhere. If there's room, because he's obviously got one of those under there, I would imagine. Even now, I'd still kind of like this, even if it was just to put on the shelf. Let us know in the live chat there if you owned or own the Ideal Toys awesome. Jaws game. There, awesomeness. But obviously, it's for kids, and the film isn't for kids. I mean, the certificate on my DVD is a 12. This is 25 years old though, so I do wonder now, have they gone back to it? Have they looked at it again? Because obviously we live in interesting times. nowadays, where basically everybody's a great big pussy. So would they?
And
would they
warning about that DVD: if you have the Region 1 version of that DVD, it was subject to disc rot. Mine was unplayable after about 10 years. I'm assuming your Region 2 one is fine though.
Yeah, mine's absolutely fine. I was staggered at how well it played and how good it
is. It's worth getting that 4K though. It looks, and when I rewatched it this time, since I got a 4K player that isn't complete crap, it looks amazing. Actually, so does the second one. The second one might even look even better. But yes, if you're looking for a 4K to get, I'm assuming the Steelbook re-releases the same transfer. I don't see any reason why they'd make another one. From the physical media collector side of me, I highly recommend Jaws and Jaws 2 on 4K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but Dan, I really quickly, Dan, I just wanted to say that game, I think just shows what a cultural phenomenon this was. That they could market something to kids who hadn't seen the movie, but who wanted to be part of the Jaws mania that was going on in the country. And so basically they just took the old Operation game, pulling the little things out of the body and repurposed it with Jaws so that the kids could join in on this. That's
I didn't get rid of it. I didn't get rid of it. It fell apart. It fell apart.
You remember this in Britain? Even if something wasn't aimed at kids, you could get kids version, like you'd have kids sizes of T-shirts for movies like Jaws and TV shows that were shown after 9 o'clock, sometimes later, for stuff like Starsky and Hutch for like 6-7-year-olds. And I think that could have been to make them feel part of something which they were they weren't allowed to see.
Right. Wait a minute, there were Starsky and Hutch action figures.
Oh yeah,
I remember you could get the car.
Yeah, but what Dan's saying is that they used to play Starsky and Hutch after 9, which basically is not for kids. It's for
that's my point, and they made kids toys for it.
There was an acknowledgement of it. They exploited. What am I talking about? Exploited Jaws. Of course they did. It was the first summer blockbuster. It was also the first one to get turned into a film series. Jaws 2 followed in 1978. Jaws 3 in 83. Jaws 4 in 88. So they
masterpieces, just works of that Jaws 3D. Oh man, it overshadows the first one.
But it's the first film, obviously, that gets spoken about with bated breath, and the lineage, the series is something that Steven Spielberg himself takes a dim view of. He has sequeled his own films in the past, but very, very sparingly, and he does regret now okaying the expansion of Jaws. I think he's probably even less happy with this, the Jaws of Death. Now, I remember seeing this because there was a lot of these. I remember seeing this, and I rented this, Ian, on VHS way back in the early mid 80s. Do you remember this movie? It was a Cannon film.
Nobody remembers this movie. Not even the people in it.
I'll tell you what.
That tagline is classic.
The movie that was the biggest ripoff of Jaws was Orca the Killer Whale. That was one
Orca's adorable. Orca is adorable. Just look at
like
that.
Orca.
How can you be scared of Orca? You just want to give him a hug.
Yeah.
Richard Harris. Who else is in that film? Jessica Lange or somebody like that. It's a great movie.
Bo Derek. Is it Bo Derek? Got a leg. Is it Bo Derek? Got a leg mauled off in the film.
It's
Anybody
not Bo
remember
Derek.
that bit? Was it Bo Derek? Who was it?
No, it's not Bo Derek.
Oh, okay. So some blonde girl.
I don't know who it was.
Mauled off.
I think there could be some mileage in coming back to the Jaws series at some point in the future, including looking at Jaws of Death, otherwise known as Mako.
Isn't there Psychic Jaws too, where Jaws is a psychic?
It looks like they spared every expense.
They asked Michael Caine why he said how much money did he get paid to do Jaws?
He said he needed a pool or something.
No, he said that film paid for his mum's house. That's what he said.
That film paid for my mum's house.
That was the year that Michael Caine was unable to attend the Oscars to receive his supporting actor Oscar, which he won because he was off filming Jaws 4.
4, yeah.
No,
Shark
look at
movies.
that.
Four,
Look at
and
that.
and I own those on 4K too. Yeah, I know you could. I'm a completist. I had to get
Shark
all 4
movies
of
and
them.
monster movies did take some time away from the cinema in favor of science fiction and a more standard adventure, but they eventually sort of came back. Partly, I think, down to Steven Spielberg and Jurassic Park, again, for more of a family audience. But Sharks did come back to some degree or another.
Yeah, which one was Samuel Jackson? With
That
those
one, Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The shark just like bites
That's where he
his
gets
arm
eaten.
off in the middle.
The Piranha 3D is an absolute, I would call it a cheesy, over-the-top masterpiece. It might be the bloodiest, most ridiculous thing you've ever watched. So is the one right before it, which was just...
that was James Cameron, though, right?
No, he did Piranha 2. There's 4 of them. There's Piranha 2, which James Cameron has disowned because they destroyed his movie. Then there was the remake sequel. I think that one was just called Piranha. And then there's Piranha 3D, which honestly, you have to see this. It is insane.
Is that the one with
Statham? Jason Statham makes those.
Yeah,
Meg
that's
films
Meg.
down there
Meg,
also.
yeah.
The Meg. Yeah.
But George, was it Piranha 3D? Isn't that the one with Richard Dreyfuss and Kelly Brook? Kelly Brook,
I think, was in it.
Kelly Brook was in it, and Richard Dreyfuss had a small
Kelly
part
Brook
in it.
is definitely in one. It
Really?
wouldn't. I've seen them, but I can't quite remember. Richard Dreyfuss, obviously the only one of the 3 principal cast who's still with us now in his late 70s. He does turn up in things now and again. I think he's made some fabulous films. I really like this
I always
actor.
like him being interviewed now. He's always an interesting interview. And he's always
Somewhat
wearing that
accented.
hat. Really strangely, he wears that hat a lot today.
And
I
for
think,
information, he is in Piranha 3D. This is your cast list for Piranha 3D if you want to see
There
it.
you go.
You got Christopher Lloyd, Jerry O'Connell, Eli Roth as a cameo, Adam
Get
Scott
out of
in
here.
it,
Really?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Kelly Brook's in it.
It's bonkers.
And Richard Dreyfuss was in that Poseidon Adventure remake too, right?
Oh yes, coming out on 4K later this month.
Oh right.
I didn't care for
And
that.
Michael
Maybe I
Caine
should
was
watch
in
it.
the
Yeah,
sequel.
no, it was horrible.
Michael
I
Caine
do
was
like
in the
Richard
awful
Dreyfuss.
sequel to the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, he was. I do like Richard Dreyfuss. I really do respect him. I think he's a brilliant actor. It's a shame that a lot of people don't recognize his talent.
He was canceled.
A lot of people like to.
He
a
was
lot of people like
recently
to. Yeah, it's
because
crazy.
he has viewpoints that certain individuals don't agree with the usual ones. So yeah, he I think he was canceled in 2023. Then he was canceled again in 2024 for speaking out against certain silliness that we see these days in Hollywood.
What was the Spielberg movie where he was who was the ghost? He was like a pilot.
Always.
That's a great movie. I like that.
On set. That is an understatement. Apparently, the guy's an absolute nightmare.
Well, but the thing is, though, sometimes, okay, they have reasons to be a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? But I do respect him. I think he's a brilliant actor. I mean, you just got to look at Stakeout and what's that? Neil Simon comedy he did. That's what I'm saying. He's a really good actor. I really do.
So good.
It's a shame that he's looked upon like this now. I still think
I don't think he's because he does not give a shit. And you got he's like William Shatner in that way. He doesn't care, and it's awesome.
Good for him. Lorraine Gray's also still with us, 87 years of age now. Ellen Brody. And still turns up at events as well, at special screenings, giving talks. In fact, I think she's given one in the last few days, I think, for the 50th anniversary. Sadly, Peter Benchley passed away about 23 years ago. He had a cameo part in the film. I've forgotten about it. He plays the news reporter on the beach, doesn't he? You see him interviewed quite a lot on special features and things like that. He was quite a responsible man, I think. He was very... I think he was very serious about what he was doing as a novelist. and wanted to entertain people, but he also felt a bit of a burden of responsibility towards sharks, didn't he? And got interested in sort of ecology and things like that, and reshaping, I suppose, the public perception of sharks, because they always say, don't they, that shark attacks on people are very rare, all that kind of thing. So you do see videos of him now speaking in later life about those subjects. A fascinating, curious man who seemed to not be backward in forward. In coming forward and putting himself out there with what he really thought. And you could say that he was a man ahead of his time. Steven Spielberg certainly was influenced, undoubtedly, but very influential. Just directly after this, I think he went from making Jaws. Was it Close Encounters or 1941?
Close Encounters.
There's a sort of few films, a cluster of films, but Close Encounters was the big one in terms of the kind of movies that we watch, wasn't it? Close Encounters, and then not long after, E.T. would sort of be the two big populist movies that Spielberg would be
I've really got
in.
into his 1990s sci-fi stuff right now. I'm on a whole roll with, like, was it War of the Worlds and Minority Report. He did a bunch of really good sci-fi movies in the 90s.
Yeah, he did. But if you look at these two films closely, there's a lot of horror in Close Encounters, and there's a few bits of horror in E.T. So he was mainly, as far as I was concerned, when he was in his prime, he was kind of a horror director when you look at it closely. So,
well, Dan just mentioned 1941. That was wedged between the two because that came out in 1979.
But that wasn't a flop. Everybody says it was a flop. It was.
I
not
have a lot of time for 1941. The director.
He says
it was not a flop.
He says it was a flop.
The whole. It wasn't, though. That's the thing. It made its money back.
But he says it was. I don't know what to tell you. I've heard him say it was a flop.
He says it was a flop. Maybe he means in a what do you call it? In a sort of like creative way. But the film made its money back.
Or a critical way, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Nancy Allen in that movie. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The phases to Spielberg, well, I suppose there would be after 52 years, different phases, different grooves, things that he gets interested in, that he wants to explore, different styles of films. You know, he gets fixated on remaking things. If he wants, like War of the Worlds, West Side Story, things like that. But he often looks to books, doesn't he, for the things that he believes the public are going to like, things that speak to him. You never really know what Spielberg is going to do next, but it could be the point.
UFO movie. He's now making another UFO movie. He's actually in the process of production now, so I don't know what it's about.
UFO as in
a
sci-fi movie?
Yes, a sci-fi movie. So I don't know what it's about.
Adaptation of Jerry Anderson's UFO.
No, not that one.
Yeah, I was very excited for a second. Let me tell you.
Sadly not. Or at least not yet.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily.
When AI comes, I'll have it whip it out for me.
I wouldn't necessarily rule it out.
Dan, one really quick question, maybe to all of you. Do you think in these days of endless, reshoots and test marketing and showing it 50 times to crowds and stuff, where things get reshot, retested, whatever? I don't think. Do you think like a movie like this would have survived that process, or a movie like this had to come out when it did?
Not for a second. It wouldn't
have been greenlit to be shot. It wouldn't have got a day in court.
It would have been cut by at least half an hour. They would have cut out all the character moments. They would CGI Jaws all over the place. It would be awful. Those days are done. Again, let's have those low budget, mid budget movies again that aren't subject to that crap, and we'll get something good.
Also, it would be Marcy.
I think
Marcy
a lot less refined.
Sorry,
what was that? Sorry,
it would be Marcy Brody instead of Martin Brody. That's what it'd be today.
Oh yeah.
Brody and the Shark will end up being lovers. And they'll drive away in a truck and menace a guy on a road, and that will be Jaws.
Yes, the worldwide takings for Jaws come in at adjusted for inflation 476.5 million.
It's fantastic.
Adjusted for inflation, it's made over 2 billion. Sorry, so that's in 50 years, that's quite a lot. Of course, famously, it was surpassed just a couple of years later as the highest grossing film of all time by Star Wars. And we've all seen this, haven't we? This is the letter that was put into Variety magazine by Steven Spielberg, congratulating, I suppose, his friend George Lucas on the success of Star Wars. And they've gone backwards and forwards with these sort of exchanges over the years, haven't they? Some success is success, I suppose. And you could say that the success of these movies, it lifts all ships, if you pardon the pun. It's all for the good of cinema at a time where you could say that these movies, that the rise of the blockbuster has damaged filmmaking and the movies, cinema as an art form, but maybe it's just a phase that it needed to go through. Not just for us to get good stuff, but as a state of natural growth.
Yay.
George, so Steven Spielberg said, yes, dear George, last week Star Wars moved ahead of Jaws in domestic film rentals. Your hyperspace performance package really did the trick. Congratulations to the Cantina crowd and all the forces of your imagination that made Star Wars so worthy of the throne. Wear it well, your pal Steven Spielberg.
Nice.
So yeah, this did turn over a time or two, and I don't know. I think this is all great fun. This all fed into it for the ticket buying public as well. It's not a feud of any kind, but it just adds colour, doesn't it, to the pop culture landscape? I love all this sort of stuff and all these bits of trivia, which it's been great recounting some of these and hearing some new ones as well, stuff that you've all come out with that I'd certainly never heard before. And I'd like to think people in the live chat would probably feel the same way. Ian, you're brandishing something there. What are you holding aloft, mate?
Jaws. That's the version I've got.
That's the Blu-ray.
The Blu-ray. Yeah, it's the Blu-ray version. I love Jaws.
Very nice.
Yeah.
This is the 4K with the lenticular cover. You can't see it, but it has kind of a cool.
We can see it.
I didn't get it in time to get the cool cover. I just got the French-English slip cover.
That looks big, Gary. How big is that box?
Well, no, it's a regular. You can see. Okay, so I'm pulling it out. So there's the 4K, and it comes with a little.
Ah, right, because the box looked big.
Nice.
Probably the box is bigger than the thing, isn't it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And apparently, they're at least in the U.S., hopefully in the UK. In the U.S. in August, it's being re-released into theaters for the 50th anniversary.
Yes, over here as well. Yeah, it is. I'll probably go and see it again.
It's a really good film.
Oh yeah, you got to go.
You got to go. There isn't a constant release of classic movies. They have been classic movies. $5 a ticket. You would sell as much popcorn as you can make.
It's like
they have been doing it. They have been doing it.
It's like I mean, like they should. Yeah, Amazon should buy a cinema chain. You go in for free, and they have the whole like MGM catalog.
There you go,
right there, and you go in for free. They make money on concessions.
Amazon doesn't care about movies.
They charge you an additional subscription to Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime Movie Theater.
Amazon's main objective is to sell stuff, and it's only a second tier of what they do.
No. Amazon's main objective is to control your every waking hour.
That too.
You can hit up Amazon if you want to pre-order this. It's out very, very soon. I think, depending on wherever you are. Jaws re-released on 4K Steelbook.
Oh, I hate that poster. Sucks.
I'm not going to be a Steelbook person. That looks nice.
I like the cover.
It sucks. Oh, I hate it. That's awful.
I'm happy with my Blu-ray with the
experiences be different.
Lady.
Yeah,
they're not happy. They're not happy.
That's awful. Look at that. Look at Roy Schneider's head. It looks like it's been flattened or something. It's awful.
But that's like it's
like fine. 3D. It's fine.
No, I mean, like you can tell there's like a relief to it. Like I think it's not being helped by.
I noticed that they've de-aged Quint. They've de-aged Quint about 20 years.
Apparently, I went to look it up. Apparently, Robert Shaw was only 51, I think, when he made this, because he was only about 54 when he died.
Yeah.
So he was.
Oh no, he was 50. No, he died at 51. Basically, he drank himself to death and died of a heart attack while driving.
Wow.
Really sad.
I don't know if Robert Shaw's story will be told on this brand new Blu-ray. There are new features, including this brand new documentaries on there as well. Jaws at 50, the definitive story. National Geographic and Disney Plus Hulu are streaming this right now. Yeah, so it's out there to watch. It's also going to be in the Steelbook set. So it says here that Steven Spielberg shares an unauthorized look inside the story of Jaws in this documentary. From Peter Benchley's epic novel to the film, Jaws continues to influence pop culture, cinema, and shark conservation, with interviews from Hollywood's most influential directors and shark scientists. The legend of Jaws is endless. As well as that, you get deleted scenes and outtakes, 13 minutes of content, the original classic Making of Jaws documentary that's on my DVD, and a big feature too about the restoration of the movie, which has led to this 4K release, and those screenings. Yeah, that it says here, the more screenings of this restored film are going to be traveling the world.
Is this a new restoration / transfer?
It seems so. It seems so.
Oh, I may have to get it. Well, how?
But
like,
you know,
no, honestly, the Jaws 4K they have is one of the best looking 4Ks.
Yeah. But do you know what, guys? When I saw Jaws in the cinema and when I saw it on TV, do you remember that scene where the chief is walking with the guy and saying this girl is missing? Do you remember in the beginning?
Right.
Yeah. And then they find her remains on the beach. Well, when I saw that on TV, it looked really grey and dull. It looked really cold. And then when I saw it in the cinema, it looked really cold. But then when I got the Blu-ray, they literally put blue in the sky, so it looked like it was summer. So I don't know what version we're going to get on the 4K. Are they going to mess around with what it was really like? Because I know it was really cold when they shot that scene, but when you watch this scene, you could swear it was summer because they put blue in the sky and all that. So I don't know. What are we going to get with the 4K? Somebody tell me.
And before I pick that up, actually, I nominate Dan since he only has his Blu-ray. So Dan is going to get that Steelbook for all of us, and he's going to let us know.
There you go, Dan. Congratulations.
I'm just glad that Disney Plus is finally putting on something I actually want to watch.
I know.
So okay, I still have my my temporary Disney Plus subscription because of that terrible show I had to watch for 8 weeks. So I may check that out.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Jaws at 50, the definitive inside story, streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu, and available in that Steelbook Blu-ray set too. Just goes to show that everything pops up eventually, doesn't it? Everything and everyone.
Is it true that most people get attacked by sharks in 3 feet of water, about 10 feet from the beach? Yeah.
A shark is attracted to the exact kind of splashing and activity that occurs whenever human beings go in swimming.
If you forgot what terror is like. Rated PG.
And how many kids did they traumatize with that?
I was going to say, that's like a don't go swimming PSA.
Yeah, you got 2 PSAs tonight.
This has been the Spacebook Live for 50 years of Jaws. Raise a cup, reunited there, the 3 victors. This is the wonders of AI. Rabbi.
Yeah. That's really what AI did you use to make that?
I didn't. I'll send it to you later on. Modesty prevents me making that claim, but I thought it was the ideal image.
Dead on.
The ideal image to finish off with this first of our summer run of special live streams. Rabbi, thank you for making it through. You brushed your cream crackered, mate.
I have to go to bed. There's no air raid, so I go to sleep.
Stay safe, Rabbi.
Night, everybody. Thank you for having me on. I will see you next week, I assume.
Watch the waters, my friend. Watch those waters. Take care. Take care. Yes, this is the Spacebook Live, streaming across Rumble and on YouTube, beginning a whole new season of our pop culture show, Everything in Out There Entertainment. Let's check in with some more comments. Yeah, people are reeling from our conversation here, covering 50 years of Jaws. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and your contributions. Lots of talk about the Piranha movies, in particular, Kelly Brook. There's some serious tangents here. Lots of talk about a certain sci-fi TV show about a blue box. Not here, I'm afraid. This is a you-know-who free zone. The 80s were a favourite era of mine for some of the best in sci-fi movies, says Jess.
Hell yeah.
Agreed. And fantasy.
Yeah.
Lucy Meow is a big fan of Close Encounters. I could watch that in a theatre. I haven't seen that for years and years and years. So
Ian hates that
I'd love to go back. And
Very funny.
I'd love to go back to that and do another show, one of these on that.
Close Encounters holds up. Like I typically watch it once a year.
It's a great movie.
It is, like I said, Spielberg, the horror director, absolutely brilliant.
My favorite
PD Rich says War of the Worlds, the first movie I fell asleep in. I'm glad to hear you woke up in the end, though, mate. And Darren Wilshaw says, I recently sold my copy of Jaws on Betamax for a tidy penny. The chat has jumped a little bit on me here, but we've got some great comments. Thank you, everybody. Reverend Steve Amore has dropped plenty of comments here in the live chat. Thank you so much. So has Ashvin too. Stephen Braddock says, absolutely jaw-dropping show tonight, everyone. Thank you very much. And thank you again, everybody, for sticking with us. We made it back to the shore. We didn't need any yellow barrels, just big gobs, some funny clips, some stupid pictures, and some fond memories there of a genuine classic of not just of pop culture and the kind of geeky stuff that we like, but of cinema history in general. This is what we do here on the Spacebook Live, talking all out there entertainment. Doesn't matter where it's from.
And don't forget that Jaws got all gussied up for you. He got his hat and his tie.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, and there'll be more where that came from as well. Ashford says, lovely to see you guys talking great movies on here.
Thanks, man.
Shark steaks, anyone? Suggest anybody ever tried shark? I'm a vegetarian, a proper vegetarian. I don't eat fish either.
It tastes like fish.
Yeah.
All fish,
because it is a fish. It is a fish.
It's like chicken.
All fish tastes exactly the same, but it doesn't taste good. It tastes terrible. You just tried very, very hard to convince yourself it isn't terrible because it's good for you. Fish, I call it the denial food.
There you go.
Okey-dokey.
Nutrition advice, and as well, I like it. Yes, Stephen Moray says that Spielberg is the Jaws of Jaws. I don't know what he means.
He ran
by
away
that,
in the end, didn't he? He ran away. He didn't stay for the last day because he knew that the crew was going to kill him. So he ran away.
And apparently,
because of it overrunning.
Yes.
Yeah, it overran. What was it, like
100 days?
100 days. And apparently, I saw a quick scene of the in a documentary last night. Apparently, when he and Dreyfuss, after the last day of filming, went back to the hotel, Spielberg apparently had like a full-on panic attack. And he had to call Dreyfuss, who was down in the bar, to come up and help him out.
Yeah, because he thought everybody was convinced it was going to flop. Everyone, including Spielberg. Spielberg, right? He didn't want to be on because the crew was really angry with him, so he just ran away. And one of the shots, he told the second unit to direct it. And he was off. He was off to the airport. He was gone. So there you go.
Comrades.
Okay. Lucy Meow said I'm right, and I do apologize if I insulted my British friends and your very, very strange obsession with fish and chips. It's not quite as confounding as your mushy peas obsession. Like, I don't know why you want to have a plate of vomit, but hey, somebody.
But you know what?
We're all in together, mate. We're all in together.
It's not fish and chips. It's curry now. England is known for
curry and chips.
My God, I wouldn't want to be working on your sewer system. Jesus.
No, not really. Not when you want to be working on your home media collection. Yeah, let us know about which versions of Jaws you may have in your collection, what formats you have it on, Or are you waiting to refamiliarize yourself with the 1975 classic when it comes back to the cinema? Select cinemas later on this summer, if legend is to be believed. I think that I'm going to have to go and see it somewhere. I think I can't just leave it there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave it another 15 years before I see this film. There's just too much in it. Too much in it, and loads more to talk about, of course, here at the Spacebook Live. Not just movies and TV, but physical media itself. We all love physical media here. Most of us are collectors. If not collectors, then we certainly like to keep our eye on all of that. So that will be coming next on the Spacebook Live. A big physical media catch-up on pickups, forthcoming releases, rants, and some raves. Chris, I think that's where you come in. The rants.
Yes. At some point, spoiler, I may tell the story of how allegedly Scream Factory lost the film negatives for Sleepaway Camp. We were discussing that before. And Dan, and I must leave with my recommendations. So here's what everybody needs to watch if you want to watch a modern Jaws, which is awesome.
Yes, please.
So you're all going to watch Piranha 3D from 2010,
Yeah,
and the sequel. It's too bad Rabbi's gone because he would have appreciated this. From 2012, we have the sequel, Piranha 3 Double D, and yes, the Double D implies exactly what you think it implies. These are the most batshit movies you will ever see. They are awesome. So at some point, somebody watched this. So tell me I'm not insane because I love these films.
I don't think we'll be able to use screen grabs from that.
Oh, no,
I love them too. We may
blur them out.
We may have lost Hooters, but we can keep the dream alive by watching movies like that. Absolutely. Any more recommendations for shark movies, of course, or piranha movies? Any kind of fish-based attack films? We're down for that. Wherever you found it, however you're going to watch it, we want to hear about it here at the Spacebook Live. Ian, it's been great to have you back on the show, mate. And you got one more day. Did you say on Rebecca Gold? One more day.
One more day. That's happening in September. So once we've done that, then it's done, and hopefully, it'll be ready so everybody can criticize. But yeah.
We'll roll out the bunting for you, mate. We'll celebrate here at the Spacebook Live. Yes, as well as talking about all movies and TV, pop culture, sci-fi, horror, fantasy, all of that. You get that here on the Spacebook Live. Sometimes there's deep dives into classic movies and TV shows like we've done this time. Other shows will be us picking at the news and the people who've made the news and telling them that they've got it completely wrong. And they should, of course, all listen to us. You can get involved through our social media. We've got a Facebook page there, as well as the comments section. There's a Spacebook Facebook group too, and you can find us all on social media as well. So yeah, where can we find you on social media? Chris, obviously you've got a bit more free time in this last couple of weeks because you haven't spent all weekend in hell.
Yeah, well, I have been freed because literally I had 8 terrible weekends, awful. This is my second weekend not in hell, and it's been great. So you can find me at my 2 accounts at horror_fan1978 or Cultivated Media, as it's called, where I talk about horror movies and the adventures of Sky, the Black Lab, who thinks Jaws is not a good boy. And then if you just want to see me make people mad, I've got my alternate at Bulls Trek. I just finished 8 weeks in hell, so there's 8 weeks of videos that you can watch. And apparently they may be doing another one of these, so I'll be doing that as well because I like kicking it when it's down. So yeah, that's me. But and also I would like to thank Jaws for making an appearance tonight with his hat and his tie. And maybe next week we'll find out what happened to Frank.
If that's not worth coming back for, I don't know what is. Hope to bring you back sooner rather than later. Ian, I'm sure we'll find something to talk about between now and the release of Superman, James Gunn's Superman, which is the movie that I don't know if it's going to bring back the blockbuster, but it's certainly selling a lot of tickets. So obviously we'll be there with bated breath and to hear about whatever else comes up over the next few months too. Because I don't know if the summer blockbuster, generally speaking, is back. But I think that cinema's getting a bit more interesting, Ian, than it has been the last 2 or 3 years.
No,
maybe. I don't know.
I'm pessimistic.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
That I hope earlier this year, and there's been several films this year which have sort of have made an impact, which is not something I think I've seen since before the pandemic. So I think there's a lot more to talk about, even as regards these genre films, than there has been in a while. As long as you stay away from the kind of the big franchises that a lot of them have played out, I think there's interesting stuff coming out, big budget and lower budget. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing what there is to talk about. If people want to find you on social media and check out Rebecca Gold, where's the best place for them to do that?
Well, the YouTube channel, Rebecca Gold, you can find me on there. I'm also on X, Ian Diaz, and I'm also on Instagram, Ian Diaz, and the Rebecca Gold Instagram channel, as well as a Facebook Rebecca Gold channel. So I'm there, basically.
Very
so there you
cool.
Go.
If you don't know where to find the rabbi from another planet by now, you never will.
Exactly.
I'm sure they can
just
hear
look
him.
for spicy thumbbandals to appear in your feed, and you found him.
Yeah.
Just stick your head out your window and listen for the laugh.
I think they can probably hear him on the ocean floor, the sharks and all the little fishes and everybody else. Yeah, go and check out Suila Betkin, the rabbi from another planet, here on YouTube, or follow him over on X as well. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to see.
And one thing you'll enjoy about on X, his spicy thumbnails are animated and moving.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Breaking your ground all the time, just like Spielberg. He's the Spielberg of thumbnails.
I hope. I wish him well. I hope what's happening down there doesn't really impact on him.
Absolutely.
That way.
Say a prayer.
Yeah.
So do I. Thrilled you could make this one as well, Gary, because I'd had an inkling you'd enjoy this movie.
Oh no, this is one of the all-time this is one of the movies you can watch over and over and over again and love it as much as the first time you saw it. But thanks for having me on.
I loved it watching it this time. As I say, it had been a while, but I just thought, well, now seems like the right time when you haven't seen anything for a while. You feel like you could be missing something, because just lately I've been watching a lot of films and TV shows from the 70s and the early 80s. I thought stuff like Columbo.
This is a summer movie, Dan. This is one that I feel compelled to watch at least once every summer. There's I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 movies like that, including the Sleepaway Camp that we'll never get in 4K because Scream Factory lost the negatives. But we'll cover that some other time, and I'll be very grumpy.
I can't wait, and I think it could be time as well in the not too distant future to go back to this series, because although I've got Jaws here, I do have the 3 sequels too, all in one pack.
Oh wow!
So I might be getting stuck into those. So maybe we can come back for another show or two.
Especially for 2, like Chris, I have a lot of time for Jaws 2. I think it's underrated.
I think it's not as good as Jaws 1, but it is still a great movie. Like it is missing that Spielberg touch, because obviously it wasn't directed by Spielberg, but as just a regular standalone movie, and also for Roy Scheider, just the portrayal of like a broken man and what happens. The impact of the first movie, which is something that you don't really see now. So I, on top of my Piranha movies, which you're all going to watch those first, I command it. Watch Jaws 2. The other 2, like I said, I'm a completist and I was compelled to buy them on 4K. Really cheap because nobody else wanted to buy them. You can skip those. The third one especially is something special.
I think we'll be coming back to some of Steven Spielberg's work on this show as well in the not too distant future. It's just too many good times to look back on, Ian. Formative years, formative films, and always something new to uncover as well. I knew I could rely on you guys to fill in some blanks for me and stop me having to do any research, really. So thank you again for that. Okay, brilliant. What a great show to come back with. What a film to revisit. Let us know what you think of it. If you're like Chris and you watch Jaws every year, we'd love to hear from you. Of course we would. But if you're moved to go and buy it, to pre-order that 4K, or to dig it out from the shelves, or to hit the cinema for one of those screenings, let us know. Let us know in the comments section. This has been the first of our summer run of special live streams, beginning a whole new season of our pop culture show, the Spacebook Live. So until the next one, we'll see you out there out there somewhere. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.